Chapter 429. Ruins Secret Realm Second Rank Monster Core. _4. Lu Chongqing was not in a hurry to head to Zhou Xian Immortal City, so he prepared to stock up on more talismans to carry with him. Moreover, this trip to Zhou Xian Immortal City would be a long journey, and the round trip would take quite some time. He estimated that it would cost him half a year or even a year. Therefore, he also needed to make proper arrangements for the matters afterward. He prepared in advance all the talismans supplied by his family's spiritual talisman shop and those provided to the Lu family. Just like that, 3 months passed in a blink of an eye. Boom! That day Lu Chongqing felt a surge of qi flow into his body. He knew that his son Lu Qianzhen had made a breakthrough to the middle stage of qi refinement. Now each of his children was waiting for their breakthrough to the middle stage of qi refinement, then to go out and gain experience. Lu Chongqing returned to Qingzhou Mountain and made arrangements for Lu Qianzhen. This son was competitive in nature and wanted to venture out on his own. Therefore, Lu Chongqing did not arrange for him to experience life in the marketplace. Instead, he sent him to the secular world to mix with Hong Yi. Now Hong Yi had become the crown prince of Marquis of Rui. He was in charge of all the large and small affairs of Rui Prefecture. Not only did he have to deal with the martial world in Jianghu, but also the disturbances of parasitic cultivators in the secular world. So, sending his son to the secular world not only allowed him to experience the martial world in Jianghu, secular cultivation, and broaden his horizons but also ensured he wouldn't encounter too much danger. Brother Lu, rest assured, I will take good care of Qianzhen, your esteemed nephew, Hong Yi said to Lu Chongqing as he readily agreed to take the son with him for experience. Then he turned to a 12 or 13-year-old boy dressed in an embroidered robe and with an extraordinary bearing next to him and said, Xuanji, get along well with your brother Qianzhen in the future, treat each other like brothers and support each other. This young boy was named Hong Xuanji, the 6th son of Hong Yi with a 7th grade spiritual root, and was deeply adored by Hong Yi. Yes, father. Hong Xuanji nodded in response to his father's words. He knew that his father's current position had a lot to do with Uncle Lu. Moreover, the present Lu Qianzhen, who was only 3 years older than him but had already reached the middle stage of qi refinement, would be a valuable association for the future. Qianzhen, you must listen to your Uncle Hong in the future. If anything happens, just write a letter back home. On ordinary days, remember to write to your mother, and when you have time, come home to visit and also go to see your sister. On the side, Chu Zhenshen's eyes were red and she said to her son with a face full of reluctance. Even though her son was grown up, he was still a child in her eyes, and she was very worried about him going to the secular world to make his way. Mother, don't worry, I understand, Lu Qianzhen said, looking at his mother's expression with a hint of helplessness on his face. He then spoke to reassure her that he would definitely be careful, write home when he had time, bring his sister to visit, and asked his mother to be at ease. Lu Chongqing watched this scene, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. He wondered how Lu Quanzhen's character had been formed. Although he had taught his son, most of the time it was Chu Zhenzhen who did the teaching. Yet Chu Zhenzhen, when it came to children, though not indulgent, could hardly bear to scold or reprimand them. Sometimes, even lecturing the children would make herself feel aggrieved, feeling that it was her fault for not teaching well. So seeing that his son Lu Qianzhen had a mature and decisive character, Lu Chongqing also did not know how it came to be. It could only be said that some children's temperaments might be influenced innate to some extent. Zhenzhen, as long as you want, we can come and see Qianzhen often, Lu Chongqing said to his wife. After settling down Lu Qianzhen, Lu Chongqing also took Chu Zhenzhen to stay at the Lu residence for a while. His eldest son Lu Pingon had experienced a year with the Crimson Whale Gang before really going out on his own to wander the Jianghu, and he had not yet returned. His second son Lu Wuyu had gone to a county in Nanyu Prefecture to become a county magistrate, arranged by Hong Yi. His daughter Lu Wuyo also clamored every day about becoming a female hero and venturing into the Jianghu, but her mother Lu Zier wouldn't allow it. And Lu Chongqing, fearing his daughter would be at a disadvantage, acted as if he didn't know about it and did not agree to his daughter going out to venture. Now that Lu Chongqing and Chu Zhenzhen had come to the Lu residence, his wife Lu Lanshu, Lu Qinger, Lu Zier, and other concubines also talked with Lu Chongqing about their children's marriage affairs. Like Lu Wuyu, and Lu Shila, these children were all 17 or 18 years old, the age for marriage, and it was time to consider matchmaking. Regarding this matter, Lu Chongqing also felt quite emotional. He still vividly remembered the birth of these children. Unknowingly they had grown up and were about to get married. In this regard he let Lu Lanshu, Lu Qing'er, Lu Zier and others handle the arrangements. But the marriage should be agreed upon by his children. After all, given his current situation, there was no need to consider weighing benefits in his children's marriages. The main thing was to let the children be happy and like it and choose for themselves. Chapter 430. Mount Sumru Tree King, a cave heaven unto himself. 1. Lu Chongxing and Chu Zhenjin stayed in Rui Prefecture for a little over a month. During this period the marriage of their son Lu Wuyu was also settled. The other party was the daughter of Li Feiyu Li Shuer. Previously Lu Lanshu had wanted her son Lu Pingon to marry Li Shuer. One reason was that Li Shuer's appearance, looks and personality were all good. Additionally they had watched her grow up. Furthermore Lu Chongxing and Li Feiyu were good friends, so naturally they thought about matching the two. However, since Lu Pingon had no such intentions and had gone away, Lu Qing'er then began to inquire about the relationship between her son, Lu Wuyu and Li Shuer. Regarding this marriage arrangement, both Lu Wuyu and Li Shuer had no objections and were mutually satisfied. Seeing that both of them agreed, Lu Chongxing decided on the matter. Most marriages in this world were like this. There were not so many cases of mutual affection between couples. Being mutually satisfied was already considered quite good. Immediately the two families arranged the marriage, selected an auspicious date and planned to hold the wedding in half a year. During the engagement Lu Chongxing also met Li Feiyu's father, Li Xingyang. 16 years had passed, and the once valiant and imposing leader of the Crimson Whale Gang had become an old man with graying hair. His face bore traces of illness. "I pay my respects to Uncle Li." Lu Changxing approached and greeted him. "I pay my respects to Immortal Master Lu." Li Xingyang looked at the man before him, still handsome and appearing to be in his 20s, who had seemed even more otherworldly and immortal than he did more than a decade ago, and respectfully bowed. When Lu Chongxing first arrived at the Crimson Whale Gang, he immediately realized Lu Chongxing was destined for great things. Now, more than a decade later, his hunch had been confirmed. It was evident from the respect shown to Immortal Master Lu by the Marquis of Rui, the Crown Prince of Rui, and the loose cultivators attending the engagement banquet. "Feiyu and I are good friends, and now that my son Wuyu and Shuer are engaged to become relatives by marriage, it's a matter of close kinship, so Uncle Li need not be so courteous with me. Just call me Chongxing," Lu Chongxing said to Li Xingyang with a smile. Li Xingyang saw that Lu Chongxing had none of the airs of an immortal master and was touched in his heart. He thought to himself that his son had made a good friend. Li Xingyang then addressed Lu Chongxing as his wise nephew, and introduced his eldest son, Li Feihong, who was the current leader of the Crimson Whale Gang. During their casual conversation, the matter of marriage was confirmed, and Li Xingyang also inquired about Li Feiyu's situation. When Li Feiyu had left, he had only briefly mentioned that he was heading to the cultivation world to make his own way without saying much more. When faced with this topic, Lu Chongxing only mentioned that Li Feiyu was fine and was cultivating in an immortal city. He then presented Li Xingyang with a bottle of healing pills. He could tell that Li Xingyang must have either overexerted himself in martial training when he was young or suffered some internal injury, leading to his poor health now. This engagement banquet brought much joy to the Lu residents. After all, it was the Lu family's first engagement and wedding preparations. "I wonder how Pingon is doing. It's been over a year and he hasn't even written a letter home." Seeing that Lu Wuyu had become engaged and would be married in half a year, Lu Lanshu began to mention her son Lu Pingon. "Pingon said he would be out for at most 3 years, so I estimate he will return in another year or two," Lu Chongxing voiced comfortingly. He knew that his wife was still not in agreement with Lu Pingon going away. Her mention of it now made him think of his eldest son as well. He wondered where Lu Pingon was traveling now and how his journey was going. In Jiang Country, Jiangzhou, Guangling County. "That white tiger demon must be on this mountain, right?" As Lu Pingon passed through a village, he heard that there was a white tiger living on the mountain that frequently attacked humans. It had scared the villagers to the point where they dared not go into the mountains to hunt anymore. So he decided to take a look and rid the people of this threat. As he reached the middle of the mountain, he heard a deafening roar from a fierce beast. He rushed towards the sound in the mountains. In a short while he saw a ferocious white tiger about 3 meters tall, chasing after a girl clothed in black. But this was not a one-sided pursuit. The girl in black was a cultivator. As she ran, she controlled a pitch-black flying sword, attacking the white tiger. This caused the white tiger to be covered in blood and maddened with rage, lashing out to bite anyone it could. This white tiger must be the white tiger demon the villagers spoke of. It seems to have truly become a demon beast, exclaimed Lu Pingon upon seeing such a ferocious creature. He realized that this white tiger had evolved beyond a mere wild beast and had become a demon beast. However, the Juyo hound he usually fed was much more ferocious than this white tiger. Therefore, seeing this fearsome white tiger did not frighten him in the least. Be careful. At that moment he saw the white tiger's chilling claws pin down the girl's flying sword. Then its tail suddenly lengthened, stretching out like a long stick, swinging horizontally toward the girl. Taken by surprise by this sudden strike, the girl was hit hard and sent flying backwards with a muffled groan. Seeing his chance, the white tiger opened its gaping jaws and leapt towards the girl in black. Oh good. Lu Pingon acted quickly, taking a fire blast talisman from his chest, focusing his energy and turning the talisman into a blazing projectile, shooting it towards the white tiger. Bang! The fire blast hit the white tiger with precision. It plunged to the ground with a thump, letting out a mournful howl, its body scorched by the blast, its flesh torn and skin charred. Roar! With its body blackened and oozing blood, its eyes glowing red with fury, the white tiger turned its gaze on Lu Pingon and roared angrily, charging at him. Secret technique: Primordial Chaos Extreme. Facing the pouncing white tiger, Lu Pingon immediately took out a golden light insignia, making golden light appear all around his body. Then as he roared, the muscles of his entire body were activated with powerful energy, and he launched a fierce punch. Boom! The white tiger's attack caused Lu Pingon's legs to sink, and the golden light around his body dimmed. Chapter 431. Mount Sumeru Tree King, a cave heaven unto himself. But Lu Pingon's terrifyingly powerful punch also made the white tiger wail, a sound of bones shattering echoing within its body. Die! At that moment the girl seized the opportunity, forming seals with her hands, causing her flying sword to burst forth with sharp energy, slashing toward the white tiger's neck. She aimed to decapitate the white tiger with a single sword stroke. Pff. However, the flying sword failed to sever the head. The blade stuck in the white tiger's bones, causing it to howl in pain and struggle in the throes of death. Secret technique: Primordial Chaos Extreme. Seeing this, Lu Pingon's true chi surged within him. He took a step forward, his fists like twin dragons leaving the sea, pummeling the white tiger with relentless force. 1 punch. 2 punches. 3 punches. Boom boom boom. A moment later the white tiger wailed, its eyes dimming. Hello, thank you for your help. My father's surname is Qin, my mother's surname is Yi, so my name is Qin Yi. The girl in black stepped forward, looked at Lu Pingon and said with an expressionless face. Upon hearing this self-introduction, Lu Pingon grinned and replied, Hello, my dad's surname is Lu, my mom's surname is also Lu, so my name is Lu Pingon. Pfft. The girl, previously without expression, suddenly smiled at these words. But the laughter caused the blood in her body to roll and surge, cough cough cough, spitting out fresh blood. The blow from the white tiger had been hard on her as well. Miss, are you all right? I have some medicine for healing here. Seeing this, Lu Pingon took out a porcelain bottle from his bag, poured out an elixir medicine and handed it to the girl. You used 2 talismans to save me just now. I already owe you a favor. So I can't take this spirit pill and I don't have money to repay you. The girl in black instantly recognized that this was not a mundane elixir medicine but a spirit pill. She thought to herself, what kind of a naive boy is this? A man without any signs of spiritual power, a martial artist, yet possessing talismans and elixir medicines. Moreover, a complete stranger, and yet he casually took them out to help. One should help out in the face of injustice. Miss, you don't have to worry about it. You need not repay for the pill either. Lu Pingon grinned and waved it off with his hand. Upon hearing this, the girl in black looked at the Lu Pingon before her face showing a hint of conflict and distress. Then she firmly said, I, Qin Yi, do not owe anyone favors. I will accept this spirit pill. You take the white tiger and with this we are even. I said there's no need to repay, and besides, what would I want with the carcass of the white tiger? Lu Pingon shook his head. This white tiger demon could sell for more than 20 spirit stones, and you're saying you don't want it? Aren't you here specifically to hunt this white tiger demon? The girl asked with a somewhat astonished expression upon hearing this. No, I came to the mountain because I heard from the villagers that there was a white tiger great demon eating people. I wanted to see for myself and thought of getting rid of the white tiger, so the villagers could hunt with peace of mind, said Lu Pingon with a smile. Hearing this, the girl in black looked at the Lu Pingon before her as if she was looking at an idiot. She didn't expect that such people existed in the world. A stranger to her but willing to use expensive talismans to help, and even offering elixir medicines for free. And the reason he ventured up the mountain was because he heard about a white tiger eating people. Regardless, I, Qin do not owe people favors, and you should take this white tiger demon so that we are square, she continued to say, her face tight and devoid of expression. She had already pegged Lu Pingon as a fool from a landowner's family and did not want to take advantage of an idiot. Miss, you said this white tiger demon is worth more than 20 spirit stones. My elixir medicines and talismans are not worth this much. If you feel uneasy about it in your heart, just sell the demon and give me the equivalent in spirit stones. Seeing the girl was resolute, Lu Pingon suggested this. Having experienced life in the Crimson Whale Gang and his interactions with Hong Yi, he had come to know some basic information about the prices in the cultivation world. He knew his 2 talismans and 1 elixir medicine were worth about 7 spirit stones. The girl felt tempted upon hearing this. She had expended a lot of time and effort trying to hunt down this white tiger demon. Moreover, she couldn't bear to hand over all the spirit stones she obtained to someone else. If they were to split the proceeds now, at least she would gain something. And she wouldn't need to feel like she owed a favor. Fine, there's a gathering spot for loose cultivators on Xianxia Mountain about 500 miles from here, she said. Come with me and I'll sell the white tiger demon there. We can split the spirit stones. If it's inconvenient for you, just give me an address and I'll deliver the spirit stones to you later, she offered crisply. A gathering spot for loose cultivators? All right, I'll go with you. Lu Pingan's eyes lit up at this. He had always held a deep fascination for cultivation, harboring intense interest in it. It was only because he knew he had no spiritual root and thus no opportunity for cultivation, that he never mentioned it back at home. Now hearing the girl mention a market for loose cultivators immediately sparked his curiosity, and he wanted to see for himself. Soon after, once the girl had rested and healed her wounds, the two set off together. Time flew swiftly and in the blink of an eye, half a year passed. 2 months prior, the once bustling rumors about the Black Cloud Mountain ruins had also died down. This had been only a small secret realm. And within half a year, it had been completely scavenged, left as a desolate wasteland. The Lu family's venture into this secret realm had not been fruitful, and they had suffered losses including 1 energy refinement late stage and 1 energy refinement middle stage cultivator, a not insignificant setback. However, Lu Chongxing had heard from Lu Yuanding that the Bai family had quite the harvest from this expedition. It was even possible that they would witness the birth of a new foundation establishment. The Lu family was pleased to hear this. After all, the Bai family and the Lu family had a friendly relationship. Now, as the Bai family ancestors' lifespan was dwindling with only a bit more than 10 years left, if a new foundation establishment did not emerge, they would face the same peril that the Lu family once did. Chapter 432. Mount Sumeru Tree King, a cave heaven unto himself. And the cooperation of the 4 major establishments in Red Leaf Valley Market will also face problems because of this. Congratulations to the host for reaching a progeny count of 150. You have been awarded an advanced level draw. On this day, Lu Changsheng's 150th child was born. This child did not have a spiritual root. But as this child was born, a system prompt sounded. Advanced draw. When Lu Chongxing heard this system prompt, his heart surged with surprise. He had previously thought that he would need 200 children to qualify for the draw based on the quantity of his offspring. He did not expect that 150 would suffice. And it was an advanced draw no less. This made him extremely pleased. After all, from a previous advanced draw, he had obtained a heaven-reaching spiritual treasure. Although this heaven-reaching spiritual treasure was somewhat lacking, without an artifact spirit, it was still a heaven-reaching spiritual treasure. It had greatly expedited his progress with the 100 treasures body refinement technique, and he estimated that in another year's time he would be able to break through to the 5th layer. At that time he would be able to refine this heaven-reaching spiritual treasure and transform it into his life-bound treasured bone. System draw. Without further thought, Lu Chongxing inwardly chanted. He wanted to see what he could obtain from this advanced draw. After all, ordinary draws were now hardly surprising to him. Instantly, an advanced draw wheel with only 4 options emerged. As Lu Changsheng's mental spirit slightly stirred, the draw immediately commenced. Before long, the golden light slowly diminished, eventually stopping on the spiritual pet treasure section. Another spiritual pet treasure? Lu Changsheng's heart skipped a beat as the golden light halted. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the spiritual pet, Mount Sumeru Tree King. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host can inspect it at any time. A divine tree pattern, resplendent with gold and jade, shimmering with the light of dawn, emerged from the draw wheel, accompanied by a system prompt. Spiritual pet Mount Sumeru Tree King? Lu Chongxing furrowed his brows slightly when he saw the reward from his draw. He immediately realized that he must have drawn a spiritual pet related to the celestial and earthly spirit plants. I wonder if this Mount Sumeru Tree King, like the 9 netherhound and 6-winged golden silkworm, requires my nurturing, he mused. If it requires my nurturing even with a true spirit bloodline, it would be quite useless to me at the moment. Lu Chongxing pondered as he looked at his draw reward. The 9 netherhound he obtained from his first draw was still a first-grade middle-stage demon beast. It was estimated that it would take another 1 or 2 years to advance to the late stage of the first grade. Even though the fighting prowess of the 9 netherhound far surpassed that of other demon beasts of the same grade, it could only serve as the guardian spiritual beast of the secular Lu residence. The 6-winged golden silkworm he drew the second time had slightly more combat power than the 9 netherhound, but there was no telling how long it would take to grow its second pair of wings. Having raised it for 8 or 9 years now, its combat power was still at the peak of the first grade. Therefore Lu Chongxing didn't harbor too many thoughts about spiritual pets. His mental spirit stirred slightly as he looked towards the Mount Sumeru Tree King in the system space. Spiritual pet, Mount Sumeru Tree King. Grade, Lower True Spirit. Description: in ancient times the Lotus Lamp Buddha obtained a half-branch of the World Tree and planted it on Mount Sumeru, nurturing it to life. It currently possesses the strength of the 3rd rank, harbors a world within its body, forming its own cave heaven and thrives continuously. Hiss! Lu Chongxing was taken aback as he read the description of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. A strength of the 3rd rank meant that this Mount Sumeru Tree King did not require slow nurturing like the 9 netherhound or the 6-winged golden silkworm. It had the strength of the core formation stage right away. Not only that, this Mount Sumeru Tree King also harbored a world within its body, forming its own cave heaven, thriving continuously. This ability genuinely excited Lu Chongxing. In the cultivation world, there is a kind of treasure known as cave heaven treasure. Such a treasure constitutes its own space and can be fashioned into a small secret realm like cave heaven, housing cultivators and spiritual beasts. It can even nurture treasures like the spiritual eye spring to form spirit veins, allowing cultivation within as well as the planting of spiritual medicine and spirit fields, serving as a mobile dwelling. And now, this Mount Sumeru Tree King possessed such an effect, harboring a world within its body, inherently forming a cave heaven. The cave heaven inside the body of the Mount Sumeru Tree King can completely serve as the core land for our future family. It's just uncertain whether this Mount Sumeru Tree King can currently transform. If it can't transform, then we must find a piece of land rich in spirit veins to plant this Mount Sumeru Tree King. Moreover, the strength of this Mount Sumeru Tree King requires a high grade of spirit veins, at least 2nd rank, or even 3rd rank spirit vein. Lu Chongxing looked at the Mount Sumeru Tree King in the system space but did not extract it. Just looking at the description alone, he felt that this tree was many times larger than the luminous treasure tree he had obtained before. Once extracted, it would be revealed outright. If it couldn't transform and move, such a heavenly spirit plant, once noticed, would likely shake the entire Qingyun sect and the cultivation world of Jiang country. Moreover, the higher the grade of the demon beast, the harder it is to transform, so he felt that this Mount Sumeru Tree King probably couldn't transform. It seems that securing the spirit land and establishing the family must be accelerated. Only by establishing our own family and owning our own family spirit land, can we conveniently release this Mount Sumeru Tree King? And by then, having a great demon at the core formation stage in the family will allow us to develop with peace of mind. Lu Chongxing took a deep breath and exhaled long. He knew that this Mount Sumeru Tree King must be planted at his home and then hidden well with a formation. Otherwise, such a plant could easily attract trouble. Shiyu had sent a letter before asking if I wanted to participate in the 100 Arts Conference, and I chose to defer. It seems that at the next 100 Arts Conference, I must enter the Qingyun sect in this way, and then see if I can obtain a top-quality spirit land through the sect. Lu Chongxing murmured to himself. For acquiring the family spirit land, he still preferred to go through Qingyun sect. See if he could obtain a top-quality spirit land through the sect. If that didn't work out, then he would consider the Red Leaf Valley market. After all, with so much effort and many family powers settling in the Red Leaf Valley market now, it wouldn't be easy to secure it through the Lu family without paying a significant price. I've already stored over 200 second-rank talismans, and the spirit talismans for the Lu family and the Peace Talisman Hall are also ready. After Yas wedding, I can almost set out for Zhou Xian Immortal City. In Zhou Xian Immortal City, after completing the procurement of materials for the 99 Mysterious True Strategy, 3rd rank talisman materials, and 2nd rank alchemy materials, my overall strength will also rise to another level. When I return, Sister Miaoga will also be almost ready for foundation establishment. I can also take this opportunity to state outwardly that this trip is to go to the Immortal City for foundation establishment, thus revealing my foundation establishment strength. Afterwards, through Shiyu, get the slot to participate in the 100 Arts Conference, enter Qingyun sect and secure spirit land. By then, the children at home should almost be ready to manage the family affairs for their old father. Regarding the establishment of the family, we only lack an array now. If we still haven't drawn an array by then, I'll hire an array master from Qingyun sect and then study some simple formations myself. Lu Chongxing was calculating his future plans in his mind. Through half a year of talisman making, he had stored over 200 second-rank spirit talismans on his person. Due to material reasons, most of these talismans were of low and middle grade, with only a small portion being superior grade talisman. But it was already sufficient. If all these talismans were to be used, Lu Chongxing felt that even a false core immortal would certainly meet their death. So this trip to Zhou Xian Immortal City for a major procurement would basically be free of danger. There is still half a month until Yas wedding day. I should almost head over. Lu Chongxing stopped pondering and rose from his study. In the courtyard, Lu Miaoyun and her children were feeding a big bird that was pure like green jade. This bird was the green jade luan bird that had hatched not long ago. Since it had just been born, it couldn't serve as a mount in the short term. So Lu Chongxing candidly gifted it to Lu Miaoyun to her delight, and to the envy of Chu Zhenjin, Lu Miaohuan and the others. Yuner, since Yas wedding day is approaching, call Zhenjin and Huan over, and let's all go together, Lu Chongxing said to Lu Miaoyun. After all, it was his son's first wedding. As a father, he naturally had to attend the wedding. And with Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenjin and Lu Miaohuan being the principal wives, he felt it was appropriate for them to be involved in such an occasion as well. Yes, husband. Hearing this, Lu Miaoyun immediately handed the bird feed to the children and went to notify Chu Zhenjin and Lu Miaohuan. The other children, upon hearing the news, all expressed keen interest and the desire to join. But Lu Changsheng's spirit boat could only carry 12 people. So he decided to take along his sons Lu Yun, Lu Huaizhen, Lu Qingshan, Lu Qingzhu and a few others. Chapter 433. The Misty Sky Bead, the Transformation of Bai Ling. _1. Half a month later. On the day the second young master of the Lu residence got married, the whole Rui County city was bustling and sensational. With the wedding procession stretching for 10 miles, thousands of banquet tables were set up both inside and outside the city, free for all the guests to enjoy as they pleased. The month-long feast meant that for 100 miles around, there was no need for cooking fires, and even beggars became plump with satisfaction. During this time, Lu Chongxing took a little more interest in the martial arts training of his children. He could understand that children of that age were playful and not diligent in their martial practice. But he was willing to spend more money to nurture those who were willing to train. On this day, as the 10th child broke through to the martial Dao innate level, a system prompt sounded in Lu Changsheng's mind. Congratulations to the host for 10 descendants breaking through to the martial Dao innate, earning the bloodline effect. a 5% increase in the probability of siring offspring and a chance for a lucky draw. Indeed, it's 10. Lu Chongqing was not surprised by this system prompt. When the first 5 children broke through to the martial Dao innate, there was no system prompt for a lucky draw. He had guessed that perhaps it would take 10 children breaking through to the martial Dao innate to trigger the achievement reward. After all, although the martial Dao innate was harder to reach than Qi infusion, it was not limited by the spiritual route. As long as one was willing to spend money, practically anyone could break through to the martial Dao innate. So, it made sense that the requirements were slightly higher than for Qi infusion. System draw the prize. Lu Chongqing didn't think too much, silently mouthing in his mind. The light red roulette wheel emerged in a glimmer of golden light, spinning immediately and finally landing on treasure. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the rare treasure, Misty Sky Bead. The reward has been sent to system space. The host may check it at any time. A pattern of a bead shrouded in gray mist emerged, accompanied by the system prompt sound. A rare treasure, the Misty Sky Bead? Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose at the sight of this reward. He was quite fond of rare treasures. After all, the Rare Treasures Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates and Profound Origin bead he got from previous lucky draws were very impressive. The Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates might have been gathering dust, but it had given him the confidence to curse a nascent soul immortal to death. As for the Profound Origin bead, it hardly needed mentioning. For Lu Chongqing, it was simply a priceless treasure. It not only boosted his combat power by a level but also made his talisman making much more convenient on a daily basis. Lu Changsheng's mind stirred slightly as he looked into the system space to check the effects of this rare treasure Misty Sky Bead. Misty Sky Bead, grade, 3rd rank. Description: crafted from a millennium-old illusionary demon's pearl, possesses the Misty Sky illusion ability. It can change one's appearance and conceal one's magic aura at will. It can also fully disguise one's identity, even deceiving spiritual contracts. Can change appearance at will, hide one's magic aura, fully disguise one's identity, deceive spiritual contracts? Seeing the description of this Misty Sky Bead, Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. He had the habit of disguising himself whenever he went out. His current tool for disguising was a high-quality mask, a magic artifact acquired from a robber cultivator. This mask was but a high-grade magic artifact, so naturally it was nothing special. If a Foundation establishment cultivator inspected it with the spiritual eye technique, they might be able to see through his real appearance. As for concealing his cultivation level and magic aura, he had been relying on a jade pendant given to him by a nascent soul female cultivator when he arrived. This jade pendant should be a rare treasure. After reaching Foundation establishment, he had examined the jade pendant. He knew that not only could it conceal his aura, but it also had certain effects in obstructing divine sense. Now that I have this Misty Sky Bead, disguising myself has become much more secure and convenient. Lu Chongqing looked at the Misty Sky Bead inside the system space. His mental spirit stirred and he extracted it. Immediately, a bead the size of an egg, shaded in gray with a mist enshrouded around it, appeared before him. Simultaneously, a detailed explanation of the effects of the Misty Sky Bead emerged. It can change appearances and conceal aura, making it difficult for ordinary nascent soul cultivators to see through it. Moreover, it can consume divine sense and mana to disguise as another person, making one's appearance, temperament, and magic aura similar to the other party. Additionally, the Misty Sky Bead can absorb the essence, blood, and soul of others or demon beasts, thereby completely disguising oneself as another person or a demon beast. This type of disguise possesses the true ability to bewilder. Not only the face and appearance are the same, but also the temperament and magic aura, including the bloodline and soul aura, deceiving first and second rank spiritual contracts. Upon learning of the effects of the Misty Sky Bead, Lu Changsheng's eyes showed a trace of delight. The abilities of the Misty Sky Bead were completely beyond his expectations. Not only did it allow one to change appearance and aura so that ordinary nascent soul cultivators would have a hard time seeing through it, but it also provided a remarkably astonishing disguise effect. So comprehensive a disguise that it could even deceive a spiritual contract. It was known that in the cultivation world, when cultivators conduct transactions, the most commonly used method is spiritual contracts. When Lu Chongqing first arrived at the Lu family, he had also signed a spiritual contract with them. But this misty sky bead could even deceive spiritual contracts. Using a disguised identity to sign a spiritual contract, one could later break the contract without worrying about the cost of breaching the agreement. Doesn't this mean that as long as one understands a person through soul-searching techniques, and then slays them followed by using the misty sky bead to absorb their essence, blood and soul, one would be able to thoroughly disguise oneself as that person, making it hard for even those close to them to notice any difference? Lu Chongqing suddenly felt a chill about the capabilities of the misty sky bead. According to the introduction, such a level of disguise could be considered perfect. Not only could it deceive spiritual contracts, but many techniques that sense bloodlines would also struggle to unearth any loopholes, real or fake. Of course, this kind of disguise was not without its flaws. The process of disguise consumed both mana and divine sense. Therefore, it was not possible to maintain the disguise all year round. And during the disguise, one could not use full power. Once one exerted full power, the disguise's magic aura would be difficult to maintain and flaws would be exposed. Chapter 434. The Misty Sky Bead, the Transformation of Bai Ling. But as a third-rank exotic treasure, this effect was already quite astonishing. Sure. Right then, Lu Chongqing sat cross-legged and began to refine the Misty Sky Bead in his hand. He wanted to experience the effect of this Misty Sky Bead. After spending 3 days, Lu Chongqing refined the Misty Sky Bead into his body. In his mind, he imagined a cultivator he had seen before and then activated the Misty Sky Bead. Instantly, Lu Chongqing's facial features and body began to change. He transformed into a youth who was skinny, with ordinary looks and seemed somewhat solitary. The changes of this Misty Sky Bead not only cover one's facial features and body shape but also hide one's aura and temperament, making it look flawlessly concealed. Lu Chongqing tapped his mana and a water mirror appeared before him. Looking at his reflection in the water mirror, he nodded slightly. The original superior quality magic artifact mask could only change one's facial appearance. It could not modify one's body shape or temperament. One could only alter those by consuming one's mana, suppressing or transforming it. The next moment, Lu Chongqing's mental spirit moved slightly. A wave of spiritual power at the beginning level of qi refinement emanated from his body. This wave of spiritual power rose steadily, advancing from mid-stage qi refinement to late stage and then to the initial stage of foundation establishment. Ultimately, it emitted a wave of mana in the late stage of foundation establishment. The changes in the mana aura of the Misty Sky Bead were determined by the upper limit of the user's divine sense. Lu Chongqing's divine sense had by now reached the late stage of foundation establishment. Therefore, through the Misty Sky Bead he could directly simulate the mana fluctuations of the late stage of foundation establishment. Immediately after, Lu Chongqing took out a coffin from a storage bag. He opened the coffin. Inside were 2 bodies, a male and a female. They were, in fact, the bodies of the 2 robber cultivators who had caused trouble in the Red Leaf Valley market. Since he planned to take the bodies to the Zhou Immortal city to claim the reward, and to avoid the bodies decaying in the storage bag, Lu Chongqing had purchased a Yin coffin to store them. The Misty Sky Bead can devour others' essence, blood and soul, achieving a perfect disguise and deceiving the spiritual contract. Besides devouring others' essence and soul, the Misty Sky Bead can also merge with others' blood and mana aura, thereby elevating the disguise to yet another level. Lu Chongqing summoned the Misty Sky Bead from his body. He took some blood and mana aura from the 2 bodies of the robber cultivators and fused it into the Misty Sky Bead. Then he reintegrated the Misty Sky Bead into his body, and his whole appearance and body shape pulsed for a moment. In an instant he turned into a burly middle-aged man with scars all over his face. It was precisely the appearance of the grey-robed robber cultivator in the coffin. Cough cough. Lu Chongqing looked at the water mirror in front of him, coughed lightly, and then mana surged within his body. His face, body shape, voice, temperament, and even his mana aura were exactly like the grey-robed robber cultivator in the coffin. This effect is simply astounding. Now that I have this Misty Sky Bead, my journey to the Zhou Immortal city will be much more convenient. After a brief experimentation with the Misty Sky Bead, Lu Chongqing was very satisfied with its effects as an exotic treasure. Now that the preparations are nearly complete, I can get ready to head to the Zhou Immortal city. Lu Chongqing returned to his true appearance. Considering that his trip out would take a long time, Lu Chongqing also arranged and handled some family affairs for the time ahead. First he went back to Qingzhou Mountain with his wives Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenzhen, and then he went to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Through a shop subdued by the Lu family, Lu Xianji, from now on this shop will be under your full management. In this storage bag there are 500 spirit stones. You can buy whatever puppet materials you need, and if there are any issues, go to Gao He or your Auntie Miaoga. If you ever run short on spirit stones, you can get an advance from your Auntie Miaoga. Lu Chongqing took his son to the shop they had acquired, pulled out a storage bag and spoke. The location of this shop was not great. It was of almost the same grade as the shop Hong Yi had bought before. However, Hong Yi had only spent 1,800 spirit stones to acquire his shop, whereas Lu Chongqing had spent 2,300 spirit stones on this shop. This price, even with the Lu family's influence, was discounted. That is to say, the price of shops in the Red Leaf Valley Market had risen by 500 spirit stones in the past 8 years. Thank you, father. Lu Xianji looked at the shop before him and the storage bag, beaming with excitement. Although Lu Chongqing had mentioned getting him a shop before, at this moment seeing such a shop and so many spirit stones, he was somewhat overwhelmed. However, upon hearing Lu Changsheng's following words that he should go to Gao He or Lu Miaoga for anything, he couldn't help but ask, Dad, do you have something busy to attend to? Yes, your father has some matters to attend to and needs to go out for a while, so I won't be around for the coming time. Lu Chongqing nodded and said, Dad, will you be out for a long time? Lu Xianji continued to inquire. He knew that his father seldom traveled far. Apart from occasional trips to Rui Prefecture, he was usually either at Qingzhou Mountain or at the Red Leaf Valley Market. About a year, Lu Chongqing responded directly without hiding anything. He patted his son's shoulder and continued, That's why you need to be careful with everything in the coming time. Later, when Rui breaks through to the middle stage of qi refinement, she will come over too. You don't need an entire shop for your puppetry at this stage, so when the time comes, you can share half with Rui and let her bring some talismans from the Lu family to sell and learn to manage these affairs. Lu Chongqing instructed. His third child with a spiritual root, Lu Rui, was currently at the bottleneck of the third level of qi refinement. It was estimated that in a few months or half a year she might break through to the fourth level. By then, in his absence, Lu Miaoga would bring her over and entrust her to Lu Xianji. Chapter 435. The Misty Sky Bead, the Transformation of Bai Ling. Dad, don't worry, I will take good care of Rui when the time comes. When Lu Xianji heard this, he nodded immediately in response. Among the descendants with a spiritual root, he was also considered an elder brother, hence he felt a certain sense of responsibility. Dad, what about brother Yun? Lu Xianji thought of his younger brother Lu Yun, who was also at the third level energy refinement. He figured that Lu Yun would probably reach the energy refinement middle stage around the same time as Lu Rui. As for Yuner, grandmother will arrange everything when the time comes. Lu Chongqing patted his son's shoulder and said. As the son of Lu Miaoyun, the fourth elder naturally doted on this important grandson a lot and would arrange for his care. Lu Chongqing wouldn't refuse such kindness from an elder. Yes, Dad. Lu Xianji, having heard this, immediately nodded. He knew his brother Yun had another layer of backing at Qingzhou Mountain and was even more spoiled. Regarding this, he harbored no jealousy. After all, his own father was quite fair to them. Moreover, as Lu Changsheng's first son with a spiritual root, he also received a lot of privileges and affection. He was very clear about this in his heart. Therefore, his sense of responsibility grew even stronger. Alright, if you want to go back to Qingzhou Mountain, find the second elder or go back with your Auntie Miaoga. Don't leave the marketplace alone, just focus on running the shop in the marketplace, understand? Lu Chongqing continued to instruct, telling his son not to run around. After all, his son was not like him with a bunch of tricks up his sleeve. If he encountered a robber cultivator, it would be a dead end. Dad, rest assured, I know all this. You also need to be careful when you go out. Lu Xianji smiled when he heard his father's instructions. He felt that this was what his father emphasized the most. But he wasn't annoyed in his heart. He knew his father was concerned about his safety. In the 2 years at Red Leaf Valley Market, he had also witnessed such things. Some people, feeling that they couldn't earn spirit stones through apprenticeship work, would go out on adventures with others and never return. If you understand, that's good. After instructing his son, Lu Chongxing went to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop to spend some quality time with Lu Miaoge. Afterwards, Sister Miaoge, I need to prepare for a trip outside. Lu Chongxing quietly held Lu Miaoge in his arms, expressing his plans to go out. Lu Miaoge didn't ask too many questions. She knew Lu Chongxing had many secrets. This trip out should be similar to the previous one with Xianxia, with something that needed to be done. She reassured Lu Chongxing that when Lu Rui broke through to the energy refinement middle stage, she would take her in and settle things. She would take care of the Peace Talisman Hall and the children. Sister Miaoge, you've worked hard. Lu Chongxing held Lu Miaoge's silky shoulders, speaking softly. He then asked about Lu Miaoge's cultivation level and how long it would take for her to reach energy refinement perfection. In about 2 years my cultivation level should reach energy refinement perfection. Lu Miaoge replied softly, her lips slightly pursed. Energy refinement perfection meant that one could start preparing for foundation establishment. But under the current circumstances of the Lu family, acquiring a foundation establishment elixir was very difficult. The only way was to bid for one at Immortal City. But the foundation establishment elixirs that surfaced in Immortal City were also very rare. The price every time it was auctioned was extremely high. Moreover, Immortal City was far away, and if the family's ancestor left to bid for a foundation establishment elixir, it would leave the family in a precarious position during that period. Sister Miaoge, you keep cultivating diligently and when I return I'll give you a surprise, Lu Chongxing said with a smile, caressing her. He planned to reveal his foundation establishment strength upon his return from Immortal City. At the same time he would give the foundation establishment elixir and foundation establishment spiritual objects to Lu Miaoge to help her establish her foundation. A surprise? What surprise? Lu Miaoge asked, her beautiful eyes looking at Lu Chongxing. She knew the surprise Lu Chongxing mentioned wouldn't be simple. She couldn't help but guess at several possible surprises in her heart. When the time comes you'll know. Lu Chongxing didn't reveal the surprise but rather kept them guessing. The next day, Lu Chongxing handed the talismans he had prepared in advance to Lu Miaoge. Although he relatively trusted Gao He, he still felt uneasy about handing over so many talismans to Gao He at once. Chongxing, you must be careful on the road. Seeing so many talismans, Lu Miaoge knew that Lu Chongxing had been preparing for this trip for quite some time. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to draw so many talismans in such a short period. If she knew that Lu Chongxing had also drawn over 200 second-rank talismans at the same time, she would probably be too shocked to speak. Don't worry, Sister Miaoge, Lu Chongxing said with a smile, planting a kiss on Lu Miaoge's fair and delicate face, then waved his hand casually. He did not set out directly after leaving the Red Leaf Valley Market. He still hadn't said his goodbyes at Qingzhou Mountain. Back at Qingzhou Mountain he informed his wife Lu Miaoyun Chuzhenjin and Lu Miaohuan about his departure. These wives of his had different temperaments than Lu Miaoge. They let him know of their reluctance and asked him to be careful on the road while inquiring about the matter. Lu Chongxing naturally couldn't say that he was heading to Zhou Immortal City. If he mentioned going to Zhou Immortal City, his wives would definitely say it was dangerous and try to prevent him from going. So he said it was just a gathering with old friends and then some business. After that he took care of all his concubines and children. On this trip to Zhou Immortal City, I can also buy a large amount of high-rank breakthrough elixir materials. Once I return I will refine a few batches myself and let Yuner Huan Zhenjin and Jiyue all break through the energy refinement late stage. Lu Chongxing thought to himself as he looked at his wives' cultivation levels. Since they hadn't been having more children in recent years, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, Xia Jiyue, and the others had time to practice cultivation. All of them had reached the 6th level energy refinement. That bottleneck from the middle stage energy refinement to the energy refinement late stage. If they did not have the help of breakthrough elixirs, breaking through would be difficult. As for Chu Zhenjin, since she wasn't very attentive to cultivation and spent most of her time on the children, she was still at the 5th level energy refinement. Lu Chongxing didn't say much about this, letting her be herself. After all, if it came down to serious practice, most of his wives and concubines weren't exactly ardent in their efforts. Like Lu Miaohuan for instance. With her talent, if she had been diligently practicing, she should have broken through the energy refinement late stage by now. At this rate, I'm afraid the person with the second highest cultivation level in my backyard will be Bai Ling. Lu Chongxing thought as he looked at Bai Ling. Bai Ling had an exceptional talent and listened to Lu Chongxing very well. He had told her to practice cultivation earnestly, so she had been diligently practicing every day. By now she too was at the 6th level energy refinement. She probably could break through the energy refinement late stage on her own, without needing a breakthrough elixir. Brother. Upon learning that Lu Chongxing was leaving, Bai Ling also showed a face full of reluctance and hugged Lu Chongxing tightly. The once frail and delicate little girl was now 17 years old. She had blossomed into an elegantly upright figure. Her face, shaped like a melon seed, was breathtakingly beautiful. Her delicate little features were assembled just right, pure yet subtly enchanting. Especially the girl's big clear eyes like peach blossoms, seemingly drunk yet sober, misty, seductive as silk, captivating and beguiling, stirring one's heart and soul. This enchantment, perfectly harmonized with her overall innocence and loveliness, seemed neither conflicting nor conspicuous. It portrayed an alluring yet forbidden temptation. Adding to that, Bai Ling's naturally timid and well-behaved demeanor made one want to tease her even more. Good girl, linger. Lu Chongxing had watched the little girl grow up and out of habit fondly rubbed her small head. Over the years he had clearly seen Bai Ling become more and more charming and enchanting. This allure was seemingly innate to her. And as she grew older, the white scales on her body continued to grow as well. Her tender white arms, slender neck, flat abdomen, smooth back and well-shaped straight legs were all covered with a dense layer of white snake scales. To this day Lu Chongxing still hadn't figured out what was the deal with Bai Ling's snake scales. But these scales, much like Bai Ling's pure allure, blended perfectly with her fair and delicate skin, not looking out of place at all, as if she was wearing a form-fitting scale armor dress, an exotic charm of its own. It led Lu Chongxing to speculate whether Bai Ling had demon race bloodlines. As far as he knew, some people with demon race bloodlines in their ancestry would occasionally have a slim chance of their bloodlines reverting. If bloodline reversion occurred, signs of demonic traits would appear. So on this trip to Zhou Immortal City, Lu Chongxing also wanted to see if he could find any related information. After all, the Grand Immortal City is bound to have a broader range of material and information than a small marketplace. Chapter 436. After leaving Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Chongxing transformed into a robust, valiant-looking middle-aged man and flew towards the Nine Dragons Market on a spirit boat. This trip was indeed heading towards Zhou Immortal City. But he also took the opportunity to pay a visit to the Nine Dragons Market along the way. To see if White Jade Tower had any decent maids. And to buy and handle some materials as well. The various items he had acquired from Meng Yibai and 2 robber cultivators at the Foundation establishment stage had yet to be dealt with. He had decided to take care of them now. 2 days later, a spirit boat descended outside of the Nine Dragons Market. Lu Chongxing, seeing the Nine Dragons Market standing tall and straight with 9 peaks piercing through the clouds, felt a sense of returning to a familiar place. When the great battle between the Lu and Qin families erupted, he left Nine Dragons Market. Apart from returning once to retrieve the maids he hadn't visited since. Following the crowd, he queued up and after handing over a spirit stone he got a temporary identity card and entered the marketplace, heading straight for White Jade Tower. What would you like to know, sir? Whether to take a wife or a concubine or to purchase a maid? A red-dressed woman greeted him with a beaming smile as soon as he entered, giving Lu Chongxing a nostalgic feeling. He hadn't been to White Jade Tower for 10 years. Is Feng Junyang, the manager, available? Lu Chongxing then asked, recalling that utterly charming manager. Sir, Manager Feng was reassigned and left 7 years ago. Now the establishment is under the management of Manager Xia, the receptionist replied respectfully. Oh, reassigned. Lu Chongxing raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. He didn't expect that Manager Feng was no longer here. But it didn't bother him much. Organizations like White Jade Tower operated branches in many places, so reassignments and promotions were quite common. Shortly thereafter, under the reception of the red-dressed woman, he went to the 2nd floor to meet Manager Xia of the White Jade Tower. This Manager Xia was of superior beauty and form, and her pleasant demeanor made others feel at ease. One could only say that White Jade Tower truly excelled in their services. Does your establishment have any middle grade or higher grade spiritual root maids available? Lu Chongxing picked up the tea, took a light sip and stated his needs. Middle grade or higher grade spiritual root maids? Manager Xia showed a hint of surprise in her beautiful eyes upon hearing this. Realizing she had encountered a major client. With a dignified face and graceful posture, her voice soft and melodious, she said, "Mr. Han, both middle-grade and higher-grade spiritual root maids are quite rare in our White Jade Tower. They are only supplied during our members-only events or the White Jade Tower auction. If Mr. Han is willing to take a wife or a concubine, we do have a few female cultivators with middle-grade spiritual roots that I can introduce to Mr. Han," Manager Xia said. Taking a wife or a concubine, Lu Chongqing, as a regular customer of White Jade Tower, well understood that this was White Jade Tower acting as a marriage broker intermediary. Although it came with a certain guarantee, it wasn't like purchasing a maid where the transaction concluded with a binding spiritual contract, life and death at one's whim. So he had no intention of taking a wife or a concubine from White Jade Tower. "I do not currently have any plans regarding taking a wife or a concubine. How often does your auction take place?" Lu Chongqing asked thoughtfully. He was quite familiar with the member-only supply at White Jade Tower, knowing that every year they offered a batch of top-quality maids. Not only were these maids attractive and well-shaped, but most also possessed spiritual roots and even cultivated certain dual cultivation techniques, suitable for use as alchemic cauldrons. However, due to the exorbitant price starting at several thousand spirit stones, he merely gleaned basic information and refrained from further inquiry. Now hearing this, he knew that the only way to purchase a middle-grade spiritual root maid was through such means. This was to be expected. Although White Jade Tower was powerful, rumored to be overseen by a nascent soul true lord, they couldn't possibly sell middle-grade or higher-grade spiritual root maids without limit. After all, in the cultivation world, 90% of cultivators possessed lower-grade spiritual roots. Owning a middle-grade spiritual root indicated a certain worthiness for cultivation. Our White Jade Tower auction occurs once every 3 years, and it has been 1 year since the last auction. If Mr. Han is interested, I can send someone to notify you when the time comes, Manager Xia spoke. All right, thank you, Manager Xia. Lu Chongqing nodded upon hearing this, planning to check out the members-only supply and the auction when he had the time. Afterward, Lu Chongqing bid farewell to White Jade Tower, and proceeded to Qingyun Commerce Guild, Myriad Treasures Pavilion, and other major shops to purchase second-rank talisman-making materials, second-rank elixir materials, third-rank talisman-making materials, and the black essence iron and 5 metals iron needed to forge the talisman artifact, 99 Profound Truth Strategy. As expected, after inquiring shop by shop, aside from second-rank talisman-making materials and some alchemy materials, none of the third-rank materials were available in the Nine Dragons market. Third-rank heavenly and earthly treasures mostly belong to the category of strategic resources, only available in places like Immortal cities. In Nine Dragons market, selling such high-level treasures not only proves challenging but can also attract trouble. Lu Chongqing exhaled lightly. He had already speculated about this and was not disappointed. After purchasing the talisman-making and alchemy materials, he sold those materials he himself did not need. As for the ordinary magic artifacts, he didn't sell them since with so many children he would eventually need the artifacts. Selling these miscellaneous materials fetched him nearly 10,000 spirit stones. Just as Lu Chongqing was finishing his business and preparing to leave, he sensed a covert divine sense stealthily scanning him. Foundation Establishment Early Stage. Chapter 437. Instant Kill Foundation Establishment, the best use of the Misty Sky Bead. Is this an attempt to murder for loot? I never expected Myriad Treasures Pavilion with its big name would actually engage in murder and robbery. Lu Changsheng's divine sense was comparable to that of a foundation establishment late stage, and he had the Misty Sky Bead to conceal his magic aura. Therefore, the foundation establishment early stage cultivator was completely unable to detect his disguise. Upon using his divine sense to inspect, he only took him for an energy refinement late-stage cultivator. He then quietly left a divine sense mark on the hem of his clothing for tracking purposes. Indeed, my extravagant purchases and spending tens of thousands of spirit stones, not to mention fencing goods of equal value, would tempt even foundation establishment cultivators into greed, he mused. With the Misty Sky Bead and his strength as a foundation, Lu Chongqing was not as cautious this time as he usually was. After completing a transaction, he would go to an inn and change his disguise, the whole time maintaining a single identity. If one wishes to be a robber cultivator, one must be prepared to pay the price. Lu Changsheng's expression remained calm, seemingly unaware he was being targeted, and he quickly left Nine Dragons Market. Upon exiting the marketplace, Lu Changsheng took out a superior magic artifact. He flew at the speed of an ordinary energy refinement late-stage cultivator. Being followed. Before long, Lu Changsheng could sense, 100 zhang behind him, a figure dressed in black vestment robes and wearing a mask. This person was a manager from the Myriad Treasures Pavilion of Nine Dragons Market. The other party must also be concerned about their reputation. Therefore, they planned to wait until he was a good distance away from Nine Dragons Market before making a move. After Lu Changsheng flew nearly 100 miles away from Nine Dragons Market, the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion openly pursued him with escape light, not bothering to conceal his intentions. Young one, don't blame this old man, blame your own lack of restraint. He unleashed the grandeur of a Foundation establishment cultivator, brandishing a spiritual artifact flying dagger, aiming to kill Lu Changsheng in one blow. Humph. Looking at the oncoming manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion, Lu Changsheng let out a cold snort. He activated the soul dispersion needle with his divine sense, allowing this divine sense attack to suddenly pierce into his opponent's sea of consciousness. Pooh! The manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion had no defense against the divine sense attack and was caught completely off guard. He immediately felt his sea of consciousness being pierced, his face paled, his brain spun in dizziness. He raised his hand to his forehead and let out a muffled groan. Bad news. A divine sense attack. This person is a Foundation establishment cultivator. A Foundation establishment late-stage great cultivator. The manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion barely freed himself from the divine sense attack, his heart filled with shock and terror. He had never expected his greed for killing and looting to be exactly what the other party was angling for. His whole body surged with spiritual light as he hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Daoist, it's a miss." But before he could finish, several sharp and domineering beams of the seven luminaries' sword cut through the air, shooting towards him simultaneously. Pew pew pew. The beams from the seven luminaries' sword penetrated the protective spiritual light around the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion. Then they pierced through his forehead, leaving a bloody hole. A Foundation establishment great cultivator thus fell. This divine sense attack technique is really useful. When it's unexpected, it leaves one with no chance to defend. Lu Changsheng looked at the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion whom he had just instantly killed and mused to himself. Immediately, he raised his palm and the misty sky bead appeared inside his body. Go! The gray mist from within the misty sky bead stirred, like a great gray snake, sweeping towards the corpse of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion. In a short while, the body was drained of flesh and blood under the gray mist, turning into a pile of dry bones. It looks so much like a technique from the demon path. Lu Changsheng looked at the skeleton that remained after the misty sky bead had devoured the body and couldn't help but comment. He then gestured with his hand to withdraw the misty sky bead back into his body. The next moment his entire body fluctuated. His face, physique, temperament, magic aura, all became identical to that of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion. So this is the perfect disguise of the misty sky bead. Although the flesh, soul core and cultivated techniques remain unchanged, the effect and appearance presented are as if I'm a completely different person. Lu Changsheng quietly experienced this new state. The misty sky bead inside him seemed to be imprisoning the flesh and soul of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion, thus making his appearance identical to his. If I now return to Nine Dragons Market, wouldn't I be able to use this identity to glean a fortune from Myriad Treasures Pavilion? Lu Changsheng stroked his chin, contemplating. He may have understood the best use for this treasure. That is, to become a thief. Even nascent soul immortals would typically not realize the effects of the misty sky bead. If he wished, he could completely transform into someone with status and position from a minor family or small force and use this method to plunder. But the next moment Lu Changsheng shook his head, dismissing the thought. Inside a chain store like Myriad Treasures Pavilion, there would surely be various prohibitions and secret signals. Being unfamiliar with these aspects, he could easily commit a blunder and be exposed. If he were to be found out within the shop, provoking the Foundation establishment great cultivators stationed at Nine Dragons Market to take action, It would be very dangerous and troublesome. Moreover, in Lu Changxing's view, such actions are like becoming addicted to impersonation and robbery. If one starts doing it too often, they might end up on a path of no return. Since he had the system to rely on, he did not need to engage in such deeds. After all, those who often walk by the river rarely manage to keep their shoes dry. The misty sky bead might be powerful, but it's not omnipotent. Perhaps some family or power has treasures or secret techniques that can counter this ability. Immediately, Lu Changxing changed his appearance again, adopting another look. He reached out, collecting all the magic artifacts and the storage bag of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion into his possession, and turned into a streak of escape light as he left. Half a month later. This is Green River Marketplace. Lu Changxing operated his flying boat, arriving at a medium to large-sized marketplace built along a river. Chapter 438. Instant Kill Foundation Establishment. The best use of the Misty Sky Bead. Xianxia was serving as the record chief in this marketplace. The two hadn't seen each other for so long, and now that he was going out, Lu Changxing naturally took the chance to visit Xianxia. He took a sensing talisman out of his storage magic artifact. Before long, an escape light flew out of the core area of Green River Marketplace, landing outside the marketplace. Her face was cold and remote, her skin surpassing the whiteness of snow, clad in a moon-white dress, her figure graceful, her temperament holy and pure, as if a fairy from the Moon Palace had descended upon the mortal world. Shiyu Fairy. Xiao Martial Uncle. Shiyu Martial Uncle. The Qingyun sect disciples guarding the entrance to the marketplace bowed and saluted upon seeing this fairy-like figure. They weren't aware of what significant business had brought the esteemed record chief here. And the originally somewhat noisy and bustling area outside the marketplace quieted down as everyone saw this stunning figure. On one hand, they were captivated by her remote and absolute beauty, her nobility, and the sanctity of her fairy-like appearance. On the other hand, they were overawed by her aura as a Foundation establishment great cultivator. Shiyu. Lu Changxing gazed toward Xianxia, who stood calmly with an ethereal and delicate bearing, and communicated with her through divine sense. Now he was masked by the misty sky bead, which concealed his appearance, temperament and magic aura. Even Xianxia could not recognize him at a glance. Changxing. Xianxia, hearing the divine sense communication and showing a rare emotional response on her cold and proud face, immediately noticed Lu Changxing not far away. Surprise and bewilderment filled her eyes. Had it not been for Lu Changxing's divine sense message, she wouldn't have recognized that it was him. It's me. Lu Changxing nodded. Xianxia didn't ask further. She instructed a Qingyun sect disciple to directly handle an identity plaque for Lu Changxing and then let him into the marketplace. Ss. Who is this person that Shiyu Martial Uncle personally welcomed? Could it be an elder from the sect? But from what I see of his cultivation aura, he seems to be at the energy refinement late stage. Energy refinement late stage? How could that lead to Shiyu Fairy personally receiving him? He must have concealed his true cultivation strength. Right, I've heard that some big shots like to disguise their cultivation to fish for information. Witnessing this scene, the surrounding people sighed and murmured amongst themselves. Xianxia had a reputation for being cold and aloof as record chief in Green River Marketplace. Aside from the false core Immortal who presided over the marketplace, she showed no favor to anyone. And yet now she personally went out to welcome an energy-refining cultivator. If word of this got back to the Qingyun sect, it would likely cause a sensation. Changxing, why have you come? Once they entered an inn, Xiaoxia's cold face softened, her voice full of joy. I'm planning to make a trip to Zhou Immortal City, so I thought I'd come to see you first, said Lu Changxing openly. As he spoke, his figure transformed, removing the disguise and reverting to his true appearance. Heading to Zhou Immortal City? Xiaoxia, a bit taken aback by his words, immediately remembered the two robber cultivators Lu Changxing had killed in Red Leaf Valley Market. The two were wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect, and one could take their heads to the sect or Zhou Immortal City to claim the reward. Yes, I want to buy some materials which aren't available in this marketplace, so I thought of looking in Zhou Immortal City. Also, to claim the rewards for those two robber cultivators. Lu Changxing explained. Changxing, if you need any materials, I can help you purchase them through Qingyun sect. Xiaoxia said immediately upon hearing this. If possible, Could you help me acquire some third-rank talisman materials? Lu Chongqing said after a slight pause. Although he was heading to Zhou Immortal City to buy third-rank talisman materials, how much he could get was still uncertain. After all, third-rank materials were much rarer than second-rank ones. And he would never complain about having too many third-rank talisman materials. They were always welcome in abundance. As for the mild second-rank spiritual blood, an ingredient for crafting the 99 profound truth talismans, as well as materials needed for refining breakthrough elixirs, 3 suns elixirs, or even foundation establishment elixirs, he couldn't just impose all of it on Xianxia at once. After all, Xianxia was just a foundation establishment cultivator. Even with the channel of Qingyun sect, she didn't have that much influence. He planned to ask for her help if he didn't get results in Zhou Immortal City. Third-rank talisman materials? Xiaoxia's beautiful eyes revealed a look of surprise upon hearing this. Then she asked, Chongqing, can you really draw third-rank talismans now? What are you thinking about? Lu Chongqing looked at Xiaoxia's surprised face and pinched her fair and delicate cheek with a smile. Then he sat on the bed beside him, pulled Xiaoxia's soft and fragrant body into his arms, and spoke softly, I have a talisman nurturing secret technique that can nurture second-rank spirit talismans into third-rank ones. But it requires the use of third-rank talisman materials to draw them. That's why I'm preparing to buy some third-rank talisman materials for making talismans. Later, with the nurturing method, the second-rank talismans will unleash the power of third-rank talismans. Lu Chongqing, embracing Xiaoxia's graceful and curvaceous fairy-like body, inhaled the heart-pleasing fragrance from her hair and continued slowly. Such a talisman-nurturing secret technique exists? Xiaoxia snuggled in Lu Chongqing's arms, saying in surprise. She had never heard of this before. Yes, after I draw the talismans, I will teach you this talisman nurturing method so you can nurture spirit talismans regularly, Lu Chongqing said with a light chuckle. This kind of spirit talisman nurturing could only be done for 2 or 3 at a time. If too many were nurtured, it would affect one's own cultivation. Therefore, he didn't mind teaching this secret method to Xiaoxia, giving her a few talismans to nurture herself for protection. Then thank you very much, Lu Lang, Xiaoxia said with a beaming smile. She knew Lu Chongqing's personality. If he said he would give something, he didn't like others to refuse. Besides, she wouldn't decline Lu Chongqing's kindness. Shiyu, Lu Chongqing said, looking at the beauty in his arms. He thought of Xiaoxia's proud and untouchable demeanor when she stepped out of the marketplace earlier, like the noble fairy from the Moon Palace, and felt a surge of heat in his heart. Xiaoxia lifted her head slightly. The next moment, Lu Chongqing captured her rosy and luscious lips, full of juicy temptation. The familiar pressure and plunder overwhelmed her, causing Xiaoxia to soften in his arms, her heart to tremble, and a sultry moan escaped her nostrils. After a long while, Lu Chongqing released Xiaoxia, whose face was flushed like the rosy clouds and whose body was warm and moist, leaving her gasping for breath. He chuckled and said, the taste of Shiyu is still so sweet and rich. Xiaoxia's clear eyes were slightly dazed. She placed her hands on Lu Chongqing's shoulders and offered her lips again, expressing her longing. Chapter 439. Draw for Spiritual Pets. Colluding with the Demon Path. The room was clear after the rain and a faint fragrance filled the air. Xiaoxia's black hair was disheveled, her forehead nestled in Lu Chongqing's arms, whispering sweet nothings. Lu Chongqing held her tenderly, his palm lightly lifting to take out a memory stone from his storage bag. It contained recordings of their daughter Lu Wangsha's everyday life. Knowing Xiaoxia would miss their daughter, he had prepared for this in advance. Xiaoxia watched the small moments of her daughter in the memory stone, who could already call out for her parents, prompting waves of longing to see her child. Shiyu, if you miss Wangshu, you can go to Red Leaf Valley Market to find Miaoga and have her bring Wangshu over. I have already discussed our matters with her. Lu Chongqing said tenderly, caressing her soft and smooth skin. Xiaoxia acknowledged softly with a light hum. Having spent nearly a year in Green River Marketplace, she could make time to visit her daughter. By the way, Chongqing, the journey to Zhou Immortal City from here is long, and even if you hurry, it will take 4 to 5 months. There is a spiritual vessel from Qingyun Market that goes to the 3 great immortal cities once a year. I remember there's one heading to Zhou Immortal City next month. You could take that vessel. It's not only convenient but also much faster. That's when Xianxia spoke softly, lifting her beautiful head. Oh, a spiritual vessel? Lu Changxing's eyebrows raised at that. He knew that many businesses in the spiritual boat pavilion did this, traveling between various marketplaces and immortal cities to make money from passage fares. But those were all medium and small-sized spirit boats. In his view, taking such boats was less convenient than piloting one himself. Now hearing Xiaoxia's words about a huge spiritual vessel specifically bound for Zhou Immortal City, he became quite interested. That's correct. This huge spiritual vessel from Qingyun Market to Zhou Immortal City only takes 3 months. Not only is there a false core immortal overseeing it, but there are also private rooms so Yu Chongxing can cultivate and make talismans in peace. Xiaoxia said with a soft laugh. Her eyes and brows exuded a captivating charm that only Lu Chongxing was privileged to see. Such a spiritual vessel must not be available to just anyone, right? Lu Chongxing spoke out. You need to purchase a ticket, but if you need it, Chongxing, I can secure one for you. Xiaoxia spoke softly. As the record chief in Green River Marketplace and holding some influence within the sect, she could secure a ticket. Since that's the case, then it'll trouble you to do so, Shiyu. Lu Chongxing did not refuse, accepting the offer right away. Setting aside other factors, the fact that the huge spiritual vessel only took 3 months and provided private rooms to comfortably make talismans made it very appealing to him. If he were to pilot a spirit boat himself, not only would it waste time, but he might also encounter troubles that would prevent him from focusing on cultivation and other tasks. 3 days later, Xiaoxia handed Lu Chongxing a green jade token with cloud patterns etched into it. She told him that Qingyun Sect's giant spiritual vessel would depart in 24 days. Once in Qingyun Market, he could board the spiritual vessel to Zhou Immortal City by showing this jade token. To find out how to board, he simply had to ask one of Qingyun Sect's reception disciples with the token in hand. The trip from Green River Marketplace to Qingyun Market would take nearly half a month as well. So after spending 3 days with Xiaoxia, Lu Chongxing set out for Qingyun Market. In order to avoid trouble on the way and to board the spiritual vessel easily, he used the Misty Sky bead to suppress his magic aura to the level of a mid-stage foundation establishment. Half a month later, Lu Chongxing safely arrived at Qingyun Market. Looking at the marketplace before him, he was reminded of 6 years ago when he and Xiaoxia had broken through to foundation establishment here, and when they had slain a grandson of a false core immortal. While registering his identity, Lu Chongxing presented the jade token and inquired about the giant spiritual vessel. The Qingyun sect disciple, upon seeing the token, immediately told Lu Chongxing that the spiritual vessel would be landing at the north gate of the marketplace in 3 days. Lu Chongxing should go there early to wait, and someone would make the necessary arrangements. After understanding the general situation, Lu Chongxing began to stroll around Qingyun Market. This trip was mainly for purchasing. As a major marketplace second only to the immortal cities, Qingyun Market naturally had many materials for sale. After 2 days of busy shopping, he roamed the marketplace thoroughly and indeed found some treasures. He had not only bought many second-rank materials for talisman making and rare medicinal herbs, but he had also acquired the spirit blood of a demon beast called Jade Sun Deer. This spirit blood had mild properties and could be used in medicine making. It was more than suitable for awakening Lu Wangshu's blood talisman's spiritual body. The only downside was that there was too little of the spirit blood. The store sold it in portions rather than in full gourds. My spending is like water flowing. I guess I'll have to sell some spirit talismans and elixir medicines on this trip to Zhou Immortal City. Otherwise, the remaining spirit stones may not be enough for me to forge the 99 mysterious true strategy and purchase a large number of third-rank talisman making materials. In 2 days, Lu Chongxing had spent over 20,000 spirit stones. It made him lament that money indeed flowed like water. This was also because his second-rank talismans were selling well at Peace Talisman Hall, which brought in a profit of nearly 3,000 spirit stones a month. Otherwise, no foundation establishment cultivator could afford such spending. Like the time at Nine Dragons Market, the steward from Myriad Treasures Pavilion who tried to rob him had only over 3,000 spirit stones in his storage bag. All his possessions combined were worth just a little over 20,000 spirit stones. Yet Lu Changxing's expenses during this period amounted to over 30,000 spirit stones. Despite this, he still had over 40,000 spirit stones left. Moreover, he had many precious materials and spiritual artifacts that were not easy to sell. If he were to liquidate everything, he could instantly exchange them for 70 or 80,000 spirit stones. Chapter 440. Draw for spiritual pets. Colluding with the demon path. If the spirit stones were still insufficient, he could also draw spirit talismans and refine elixir medicines to quickly gather funds. The next morning, as the sky began to show the first light of dawn, Lu Chongqing arrived outside the northern gate of Qingyun Market. At this time, there were already many cultivators waiting, including several Qingyun sects patrolling law enforcement cultivators. It seemed they were all waiting for the arrival of the Qingyun sect's spiritual vessel. Han Senior, when the spiritual vessel arrives, please line up here and board the second floor of the vessel. A Qingyun sect disciple inquired about Lu Changsheng's situation. Seeing the green jade token in his hand, he briefed him on the general situation. Okay. Lu Chongqing nodded his head. After waiting for nearly an hour, a 3-level tall 50 to 60 zhang long spiritual vessel, wrapped in luminous formation light, slowly descended from the high clouds. This spiritual vessel was not only inscribed with formation runes but also had several artillery turrets, which made one feel insignificant while also imparting an indescribable sense of oppression. How powerful could these turrets be? Are they comparable to a blow from a core formation? Lu Chongqing wondered to himself as he looked at the spiritual vessel. He had heard that some large spirit boats would be inscribed with attack formations and equipped with large-scale magic artifacts. During major power conflicts and battles, they would use spiritual vessels to transport resources and manpower to the battlefield. Such spiritual vessels also belonged to the category of strategic magic artifacts. Ordinary powers simply couldn't afford them, nor did they have channels to purchase them. Everyone present yourself with the token in hand, and line up in order to board the spiritual vessel. If you disrupt the order, boarding qualifications will be revoked. The spiritual vessel was hovering in midair as 2 Foundation establishment cultivators came out and spoke, their voices booming. As soon as their words settled, a rainbow light descended from the spiritual vessel, forming a series of steps. At this time, the Qingyun sect's law enforcement cultivators ordered people to line up and board the vessel in sequence. Having observed and understood the situation, Lu Chongqing knew that the tickets for this massive spiritual vessel came in 3 tiers. The first tier was the purple jade token for luxury upper-class rooms. The second tier was his type, the green jade token for ordinary guest rooms. The third tier was the white jade token, where all passengers shared a hold without private space. There were only 3 persons holding purple jade tokens on this trip on the spiritual vessel. They appeared either rich or noble, likely descendants of nascent soul immortals or members of large aristocratic families. After these 3 boarded the spiritual vessel, Lu Chongqing also started lining up to board. Recommended by Shiyu Jr. Sister? May I ask how to address you? After boarding the spiritual vessel, a Foundation establishment cultivator checked Lu Changsheng's jade token and asked. Lu's cultivator Han Li. Lu Chongqing made a bow with hands folded in front. All right, Daoist Han, room number 9, please enter. After a simple login by this Foundation establishment cultivator, he didn't inquire further. All right, thank you. Lu Chongqing nodded, making his way to the guest rooms on the second floor of the spiritual vessel. The room wasn't large, just a single room of about 10 square meters. For Lu Chongqing it was more than enough. He had purchased quite a lot of talisman-making materials in 9 Dragons Market and Qingyun Market. Over these 3 months he could calmly draw talismans on board the spiritual vessel. Half an hour later the spiritual vessel rose high into the sky and set off for Zhou Immortal City. Lu Chongqing brewed a pot of spiritual tea and quietly watched the sea of clouds outside the window. He had long since grown tired of such scenery. But his first time on a spiritual vessel was like the first time he had flown on a plane in his previous life, somewhat novel. He couldn't help but think to himself when he would be able to own a spiritual vessel like this. After all, such a spiritual vessel truly exuded dominance. Having finished a pot of spiritual tea and watched the clouds for a while, the novelty of riding the spiritual vessel had almost vanished. Lu Chongqing exhaled softly, took out a talisman brush and paper, and began to draw spirit talismans with his mind tranquil. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Congratulations to the host, 10 offspring have completed the qi introduction into body and stepped onto the path of cultivation, earning a 5% increased probability for offspring to have a spiritual root, and receiving 1 chance to draw a lottery. 10 now. Lu Chongxing, who was making talismans, heard the system alert and a faint smile appeared on his face. His children were now starting cultivation in an orderly manner. In the next 3 years, another 10 children would step onto the path of cultivation. These children would be the foundation of his future family. The probability effect of having offspring with a spiritual root, if kept on increasing like this, wouldn't it guarantee that all my future children will possess a spiritual root? Lu Chongxing, observing the 5% increase in the probability of siring offspring with a spiritual root, mused to himself. After several enhancements, the chance for his offspring to have a spiritual root had already risen to 15%. This probability was far from low. You see, when 2 cultivators have children, the chance that the child will have a spiritual root is only about 10 to 20%. But I would also need a sufficient number of wives and maids to maximize this passive effect. Lu Chongxing exhaled lightly. He was now ready to stream in more resources and focus on selectively breeding. There weren't many pregnant wives or maids left in his backyard. Apart from the 7 new concubines and maids, many had already given birth among his wives and maids. Thus, aside from Xia Zizhu, Lu Miaoge, and Xiaoxia, Lu Chongxing didn't really want to keep having them bear children. However, once I establish my family and reveal my foundation establishment strength, these matters should resolve themselves. Lu Chongxing contemplated privately. Merely by revealing his 2nd-grade talisman master abilities, he already had many people willing to send their family juniors to be his concubines or maids. If he were to reveal his foundation establishment strength, then even more families and powers would likely be willing to send over their talented juniors. Indeed, in the cultivation world, as long as you have strength, many problems cease to be problems. Lu Chongxing shook his head and sighed, then silently commanded in his mind. System, draw the lottery. A pale red wheel of fortune emerged, bathed in a golden light that began to spin rapidly. After a moment, the light slowed and rested on pet. Ding. Congratulations, host. You've obtained a spiritual pet, cold blue dark turtle. The reward has been distributed to the system space. The host can check it at any time. An image of a dark blue turtle radiating a chilly aura appeared from the wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Cold blue dark turtle? A turtle species spiritual pet? Lu Chongxing scrutinized his lottery prize, frowning slightly. His first impression of turtle species beasts was that they had long lifespans and slow growth. So seeing this cold blue dark turtle, he immediately felt the spiritual pet was of limited use, somewhat mediocre. Immediately, Lu Chongxing's mental spirit flickered, turning his attention to the cold blue dark turtle in the system space. Beast, cold blue dark turtle. Rank, heaven rank lower grade. Description, a lower grade beast with the true spirit dark mysterious turtle bloodline. It can grow to its peak in 1,000 years, becoming a 4th rank demon beast. Truly a case of raising a turtle for 3 generations. People pass away but a turtle remains. Though 1,000 years to grow into a 4th rank demon beast is already very fast for a turtle species beast. But this rate of growth would exhaust even a nascent soul immortal. Lu Chongxing, seeing the description of the cold blue dark turtle, couldn't help shaking his head. Although he was confident that he could outlast this turtle. With a 9 netherhound in his house that could grow into a 4th rank demon beast in 500 years, he was already dissatisfied with its slow growth. Now this cold blue dark turtle would take 1,000 years to reach the 4th rank, which made him not want to even comment. Forget it, that's the nature of a lottery, always ups and downs, might as well treat it as a common pet. Lu Chongxing exhaled and didn't concern himself too much. Although the cold blue dark turtle's growth was slow, it also represented a future potential. After all, a beast's lifespan is several times that of a human being. And the lifespan of a turtle species beast is generally several times that of other beasts. If he took good care of this cold blue dark turtle, maybe it could accompany him for tens of thousands of years. Lu Chongxing decided not to take the cold blue dark turtle out from the system space for the time being. He planned to leave it in the system space until he disembarked from the spiritual vessel and arrived at Zhuxiao Immortal City, then take a good look at the situation of this spiritual turtle. Blackwater Pool Xiahou family. How dare you infiltrate the Xiahou family? A loud roar resounded, piercing the sky. The next moment, a sword light broke through the void, leaving a crack in the great formation above the Xiahou family estate. Then an escape light flew swiftly through the crack, soaring into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. She must not be allowed to escape. This woman might very well be an agent of the Qingyun sect, infiltrating our Xiahou family to investigate any potential collusion with the demon path. Now that our sect master is challenging Li Duanshuan to a duel, and we're on the brink of war with Jiang country, we cannot afford any missteps. In the depths of the Xiahou estate, several voices exchanged words. Immediately, a figure rose into the sky, transforming into a black divine rainbow, chasing after the escape light that had just fled. This figure was emanating a terrifying spiritual pressure, characteristic of a false core immortal. Chapter 441. Battle of the False Core Chu-Qingyi. _1 In the guest room, Lu Chongxing finished drawing 5 second-rank spirit talismans and brewed a pot of spiritual tea. He sat down to rest, closing his eyes to recuperate and restore his mana. Although the spiritual vessel was very stable with a false core immortal in charge, an accident could happen at any moment. Therefore, after drawing a few talismans, Lu Chongxing would rest to recover, keeping himself in peak condition. Fellow Daoist passengers, I am Qiyun True Immortal. I have just received an urgent distress call from our sect, so we will be deviating from our course to assist. Please remain calm and do not panic, said a deep and elderly voice, resounding throughout the entire spiritual vessel. At that moment, a deep and elderly voice arose, resonating throughout the entire spiritual vessel. An urgent distress call? Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's heart skipped a beat. He opened his eyes and looked at the itinerary instrument inside the room. He noticed that the spiritual vessel originally heading east was turning around, deviating from the course to Jiuxiao Immortal City. What kind of distress call could it be, for a false core immortal to change course of such a large spiritual vessel to provide assistance? Lu Changsheng's heart was filled with doubt. He knew the identity jade of Qingyun sect disciples could be used to call for help. As long as the signal was sent, other Qingyun sect disciples within hundreds of miles would receive the distress signal. But now, a distress call had prompted a false core immortal to deviate such a huge spiritual vessel to provide assistance. This made him realize the situation must be serious. Lu Chongxing looked out at the sea of clouds. The spiritual vessel was moving much faster than before, clearly speeding up to reach the location of the distress call. I can't be that unlucky, can I? To encounter a mishap on my first ride on a spiritual vessel? Lu Chongxing couldn't help but think to himself. His reason for taking the spiritual vessel to Jiuxiao Immortal City was convenience and speed. If there were any trouble at the location of the distress call, and he got swept into it, he would be utterly troubled. At that moment, Lu Chongxing heard footsteps in the corridor outside. It seemed that some passengers, upon hearing about the change of course, had stepped out of their rooms to inquire about the situation on the deck. After some thought, Lu Chongxing put away his talisman brush, paper and spiritual ink, leaving the guest room to see what was going on. There were several Foundation establishment cultivators on deck. They were asking each other about what was happening. None of them, however, had any idea what was going on. Soon they all stood on the deck, looking down at the sea of clouds to see where the spiritual vessel was heading. About an hour into its rapid journey, a profound and heavy spiritual pressure suddenly emanated from the distances of the sky. A false core immortal? Lu Chongxing and the others on the deck all turned to look in the direction of the vast sky. From this spiritual pressure, they immediately knew that it was the might of a false core immortal. They saw a chaotic burst of escape light break through the clouds, racing toward the direction of the spiritual vessel. A black divine rainbow was in hot pursuit, constantly bombarding the leading escape light. Boom! Within the black divine rainbow, an axe light slashed out with countless runes flashing upon it, creating waves of black wind and wild blades that swept away the sea of clouds. As a result, the fleeing figure grunted, spat out blood and nearly plummeted from the clouds. How dare you, audacious villain, harm a true disciple of Qingyun sect? At the top of the vessel, a woman who appeared to be in her 50s, with an imposing and solemn face, dressed in a red magical robe, abruptly opened her eyes and shouted. Instantly, she transformed into a divine rainbow and shot out from the top of the spiritual vessel. Her body surged with false core mana, turning the sea of clouds a fiery red, like a burning sky, radiating waves of scorching heat. So, it was a true disciple of Qingyun's sect who called for help. No wonder Qiyun True Immortal decided to alter the course of the spiritual vessel for assistance, someone murmured. Which false core immortal dares to chase and kill a true disciple of Qingyun's sect? People whispered. It's no wonder, being a Qingyun sect's true disciple, that they've managed to withstand a false core immortal for so long. Of course, every true disciple of Qingyun sect possesses the strength of the Foundation establishment late stage, unmatched among their peers. As long as they don't die young, they could at least become a false core immortal in the future, came the chatter. The group on the deck couldn't help but discuss amongst themselves upon witnessing this scene. Lu Chongqing was also taken aback. Having spent so much time with Xianxia, he was familiar with the hierarchy of Qingyun sect disciples. Outer sect disciples, inner sect disciples, core disciples and true disciples. True disciples were all at the power level of Foundation establishment late stage, the seeds of core formation for the Qingyun sect. As long as they didn't meet with an accident, they were destined to become the sect's authoritative elders with boundless prospects. Yet here, a false core immortal was daring to chase and attempt to kill a true disciple of Qingyun sect in Qingyun territory. If it's just one false core immortal, it looks like the problem isn't too big. Seeing that there was only one false core immortal in pursuit, Lu Chongqing breathed a sigh of relief. He knew he wouldn't be dragged into any major trouble. After all, the spiritual vessel didn't just have a Qingyun sect false core immortal in charge. It was also carrying 3 or 4 Qingyun sect Foundation establishment cultivators, along with over 20 Foundation establishment passengers. If the Qingyun sect needed help, he thought everyone would be willing to lend a hand. Boom boom boom. The Qingyun sect's Qiyun True Immortal holding a red banner. With a wave of the flag, immediately streams of heaven scalding, sea-boiling red flames spread, transforming into fire dragons that intercepted the black divine rainbow. Then with a large mana hand, she reached to send the true disciple soaring onto the spiritual vessel. Back off. The figure within the black divine rainbow was a black-robed man whose face was concealed. Enraged by the sight of the fire dragons, he wielded his black great axe and swung it forth mightily. Countless dark runes surfaced, accompanied by a terrifying aura that pierced through heaven and earth, eradicating the fire dragons and bursting with formidable power. Chapter 442, The Battle of False Cores Chuqingyi. Even with the talisman formation's spiritual light wrapping around the spiritual vessel, the terrifying presence of the strike still caused everyone on the deck to feel their blood churn and their hearts tremble with fear. So this is the power of a false core immortal, truly terrifying. Lu Chongqing, upon witnessing the battle between 2 false core immortals, felt a surge of awe, took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. It was his first time seeing a false core immortal make a move. He suddenly had a rough understanding of the level of strength at this tier. He knew that if he faced a false core immortal now, he would be no match at all. If I encounter a false core immortal, I must seize the initiative and form a talisman formation with over 100 second-rank spirit talismans to stand any chance of blasting them to death. He thought to himself as he watched the 2 false core immortals clashing in the distance. He knew that to slay a false core immortal he had to rely on the talisman refinement formation. He had over 200 second-rank talismans on him. Once he made a move and formed the talisman formation, not even a false core immortal could withstand it. However, finding the opportunity to blast one to death within the formation would be no easy feat after all. Anyone capable of becoming a false core immortal was no fool and had many tricks up their sleeve. The moment they sensed danger or something amiss, they could quickly escape. I heard that the mana of a false core immortal is only 60 to 70% that of a nascent soul immortal. Therefore, if I encounter a nascent soul immortal, I must flee at the first opportunity. By assessing the strength of the false core immortals before him, Lu Chongqing had a rough estimate of the power of a nascent soul immortal. He knew he might stand a chance in a battle against a false core immortal. But against a nascent soul immortal, there was hardly any hope. The only option would be to find a way to escape. Boom boom boom. The ongoing battle between the 2 false core immortals was immensely powerful, causing the sea of clouds to churn tumultuously. And at that moment, the true inheritor of the Qingyun sect was sent onto the spiritual vessel by Qiyun True Immortal with great magical power and caught by a Qingyun sect disciple. It's her, the Qingyun sect's Fairy Qingyi. Fairy Qingyi? Kaiyun True Immortal's disciple Chu Qingyi. People on the deck recognized the identity of this true inheritor of the Qingyun sect. Kaiyun True Immortal's disciple, Chu Qingyi, Shiyu's senior sister? Lu Chongxing was somewhat surprised to hear this. He knew that Xiaoxia's master was Kaiyun True Immortal of the Qingyun sect. But he wasn't clear about Xiaoxia's other fellow disciples. He didn't expect that this Qingyun sect true inheritor being pursued was actually Xiaoxia's senior sister. Lu Chongxing looked towards Fairy Qingyi. She appeared to be in her mid-20s, her beauty refined and exquisite, possessing both the softness and the heroic air of a woman. Dressed in a tight white martial suit, her curvaceous figure was on full display. But at that moment her aura was in disarray and weak, her white clothes were tattered and covered in dreadful blood stains, fresh blood oozing from her dark wounds. The exquisite beauty of her face was enveloped by strands of gray qi, causing her to keep her beautiful eyes tightly shut and show an expression of pain. Senior Sister Qingyi. The Qingyun sect disciple beside her immediately took out some elixir medicines and fed them to Chu Qingyi. Zombies, this person is a demon cultivator. These 3 zombies all seem like second-rank peak copper corpses. At that moment, someone exclaimed aloud as they looked at the 2 false core immortals in combat. In the sea of clouds ahead, after clashing with Qiyun True Immortal for a while, the black-robed false core initiated an incantation, causing 3 coffins to fly out. 3 corpses emerged, their bodies pitch black and muscular, as if cast from bronze, emanating a dense energy. Roar. The 3 zombies let out beast-like roars, fearlessly charging at Qiyun True Immortal. Qiyun True Immortal's hands were waving a red banner that rippled in the wind, surrounded by flames, and he took out several talismans from his chest, turning them into golden thunderbolts that thundered towards the 3 zombies. Zombies, mostly of the Yin and cold kind, fear the yang fire and thunder. Facing the intense flames and golden thunderbolts, the 3 zombies immediately howled, their dark bodies simultaneously beginning to bubble as if they had been plunged into boiling oil, and numerous white spots appeared. Seeing this, the black-robed false core quickly formed an incantation and summoned a black bowl. Different malevolent qi flew out of it and entered the 3 zombies. It allowed the 3 zombies to recover at a visible speed, causing both Qiyun True Immortal and Lu Chongxing and others to twitch. What kind of zombies are these that possess such terrifying physiques and aren't afraid of yang fire or thunder? Qiyun True Immortal felt uneasy, sensing something was wrong. Kill. The black-robed false core let out a cold snort, wielding the black great axe and repeatedly attacking Qiyun True Immortal, coordinating with the onslaught of the 3 zombies, forcing Qiyun True Immortal to fall back step by step, struggling to defend himself. Not good. Everyone on the deck witnessed this scene and showed worried expressions. Qiyun True Immortal were to be defeated, they themselves might also be in danger. Shenfeng, prepare the Qingyun cannon. At that moment Qiyun True Immortal also gave up his offensive, switched to defense, conjured a phoenix cover over himself and shouted loudly. Yes. On the 3rd floor of the spiritual vessel, a Qingyun sect foundation establishment disciple immediately responded. After a short while on the spiritual vessel, a powerful energy surged. Several cannon emplacements on the vessel glowed with spiritual light, transforming into ancient ferocious beasts, slowly opening their massive mouths, preparing for a terrifying assault. Standing on the deck, Lu Chongxing and the others felt the terrifying power being gathered by the cannons and couldn't help but feel their hearts racing. Such cannons, if fired at full strength, are probably on par with a full-force strike from a core formation. Lu Chongxing couldn't help but think to himself. He felt that such a spiritual vessel was incredibly formidable. Against a second-rank formation like the one in Red Leaf Valley Market, it was likely to be shattered with a single blast. At that moment he became even more aware of the importance of a good formation. Chapter 443. The Battle of False Cores Chu Qingyi. Damn it! The robed false core immortal saw the cannons brewing on the spiritual vessel's deck, a twitch appearing at the corner of his eye, and an ominous premonition rising in his heart. He knew that once these cannon turrets locked onto him, a single strike would reduce him to ashes. Fire Dragon Pillar, suppress. At that moment, Qiyun True Immortal summoned a column as tall as a man and as thick as a barrel, adorned with a lifelike carving of a fire dragon. The carving of the fire dragon burst forth, transforming into a chain of fire dragons that roared towards the robed false core immortal, seeking to bind him and allow the cannons to turn him to dust. This little girl has been poisoned by my heavenly corpse poison. Now that the poison has reached her heart, I reckon she won't last much longer. The robed false core immortal glanced at the offensive before him and then at the spiritual vessel, his expression unwilling as he cleaved with his great axe, recalled the 3 zombies and turned into a divine rainbow to make a quick retreat. Phew! Qian True Immortal watched the enemy retreat, releasing a sigh of relief. If the 2 of them continued to fight with the opponent wielding 3 Foundation Establishment peak zombies, she truly would not stand a chance. As for the attack from the spiritual vessel's cannons, such an attack once launched would implicate her if she were to restrain the enemy. Therefore, if it weren't for lack of alternatives, she wouldn't want to employ such a tactic that injures the enemy at the cost of severe damage to herself. She transformed into a divine rainbow and swiftly returned to the deck. Elder. We've seen Qian True Immortal. Lu Chongqing and the others immediately bowed in salute to the false core immortal. In the cultivation world, strength dictated seniority. Qian True Immortal nodded slightly and quickly checked on Chu Qingji's condition. Qian Elder. At this time, Chu Qingyi also managed to open her eyes weakly and called out to Qian True Immortal. Qingyi, my niece, what happened? Who is this demon cultivator? Qian True Immortal demanded immediately. Xiahou family. Chu Qingyi, surrounded by a gray aura of death, began to speak in a feeble voice. Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of black blood. The blood splattered on the deck with a strong corrosive effect, and she fell unconscious once more. Xiahou family. Upon hearing this, Qian True Immortal's expression darkened. Seeing Chu Qingyi fall unconscious, she knew the situation was very dire. She immediately disappeared from the deck with Chu Qingyi. Xiahou family? Could it be the Blackwater Xiahou family? Hiss, I remember Blackwater Pool isn't far from here within Xiahou family's domain. Could it be that the demon cultivator just now was ancestor Xiahou? How could that be possible? The Xiahou family is a major cultivation family with a history of hundreds of years in our Jiang country. How could they be related to the demonic sects? If the Xiahou family truly is part of the demonic sects, that would be astonishing news. The crowd on the deck was taken aback upon hearing the name Xiahou family. Lu Chongqing was also somewhat surprised. He naturally knew of the Blackwater Xiahou family, a cultivation family with a seated false core immortal, considered a top-tier cultivation family within Jiang country cultivation realm and under Qingyun sect's jurisdiction. But now the Xiahou family was suspected of being affiliated with the demonic sects. You see, Jiang country cultivation realm belongs to the righteous factions. As for the demonic path, if not eradicated completely, its existence is certainly not permitted in public view. Any demonic path cultivator or force that emerges in public would be dealt with by the major immortal sects. Now, a great cultivation family with a history of hundreds of years and a false core immortal at its core being associated with the demonic sects was indeed shocking. If that's the case, it would explain why they dared to pursue the true heirs of Qingyun sect. Yes, Blackwater Pool, where the Xiahou family resides, also falls under Qingyun sect's jurisdiction. If this turns out to be confirmed as a demonic sect, it won't be long before Qingyun sect dispatches nascent soul immortals and amasses an army to eradicate the Blackwater Xiahou family. Everyone was alarmed by this revelation and engaged in a heated discussion. Fellow Daoists, please keep today's news confidential and do not disseminate it. At this moment, the spiritual vessel turned around and headed at full speed toward Qingyun sect. A Qingyun sect disciple came to the deck and spoke to the crowd. Rest assured, fellow Daoist, the matters of today will certainly not be divulged by me, Su. Upon hearing this, someone immediately swore a heart demon oath as a vow of silence regarding the events. Seeing this, others followed suit, each swearing a heart demon oath, and Lu Chongqing did the same. After all, one had to give face to Qingyun sect. As the situation settled and the spiritual vessel resumed its voyage, Lu Chongqing returned from the deck to his cabin. Among us, is there a physician proficient in healing and detoxification? Not long after, a deep and aged voice reverberated throughout the spiritual vessel. It was the voice of Qian True Immortal. Hearing this, Lu Chongqing immediately guessed that Fairy Qingyi required urgent medical treatment. From his brief observation earlier, he had noticed the dying aura enveloping Fairy Qing Yi, indicating not just severe injury, but also that she was afflicted with some poison. However, he hadn't expected the poison to be so severe that even Qiyun True Immortal, a false core immortal, was at a loss. She now sought a physician or a healer aboard the spiritual vessel. I wonder if there's a physician on this spiritual vessel. If not, I'm afraid by the time we rush back to Qingyun's sect, Fairy Qing Yi will have succumbed to her fate. Lu Chongqing thought to himself. Although he had many methods at his disposal, he wasn't adept at healing or treatment and couldn't offer much help. Chapter 444. It seems that this Mr. Han is a true gentleman. _1 Blackwater Pool Xiahou family. A divine rainbow descended, revealing a middle-aged man clad in a black brocade robe. Ancestor. The Xiahou clansmen at the entrance bowed respectfully upon seeing their ancestor return. Xiahou Wua nodded indifferently and entered the family estate. Ancestor, we have just finished the investigation. This woman entered the back mountain of our clan through Zhou Xian. At this moment, the Xiahou family head turned to address their ancestor. Zhou Xian. For such a grave mistake, death cannot absolve him of his guilt. Cast him into the Blackwater Pool and refine him into a Yin corpse. Xiahou Wua paused mid-step, then spoke indifferently. Yes. The family head nodded in response. Zhou Xian might be an elite member of the family, but for such a serious error he naturally could not be forgiven. Moreover, the corpses of the Xiahou family's descendants were all refined into Yin corpses upon death, transforming into the foundation of the family. He looked towards Xiahou Wua, continuing to inquire, Ancestor, were you able to capture and kill that woman? That girl was rescued by someone from Qingyun sect, but she was afflicted with my heavenly Yin corpse poison, and the poison reached her heart immediately. She cannot live much longer. Xiahou Wua spoke in a serious tone as he took a seat in the family's grand hall. Rescued by Qingyun sect? Just as he finished speaking, a voice devoid of any warmth or emotional fluctuation sounded. And then, a bronze coffin burst forth from the depths of the Xiahou estate and landed in the middle of the grand hall. Within the coffin was a stiff-faced old man with no beard under his chin and ashen-gray skin with dark red eyes. Ancestor. Ancestor. Upon seeing the coffin's occupant, both Xiahou Wua and the family head respectfully bowed. Replying to the ancestor, I was just about to kill that girl when a Qingyun sect spiritual vessel arrived and rescued her. However, she has already been struck in the heart by corpse poison and surely cannot live long. Xiahou Wua explained. This girl's appearance in our Xiahou family suggests that Qingyun sect has long suspected our family of dealing with the demon path. Now that she has encountered trouble within our Blackwater Pool territory, our Xiahou family cannot be separated from this affair, whether she dies or not. Xiahou Jie spoke in a chilling and uncanny voice. After speaking, he turned to the family head and commanded, Wuxia, now discreetly send some of the direct descendants out of Jiang country and into Yu country and Jin kingdom. Yes, ancestor. The family head immediately answered. Ancestor, is this really necessary? The sect master and the Five Poisons cult leader will soon challenge Li Duanshuan. As long as Li Duanshuan is defeated, once the Jin kingdom's army invades Jiang country, with our internal support and their external assault, our Xiahou family can achieve great things. At that time, the sect master might even bestow the subsequent cultivation techniques and the method to create elixirs, helping you advance even further, ancestor. Xiahou Wua spoke up. The subsequent cultivation techniques, another step further. Xiahou Jie's ashen and uncanny face gave a cold sneer that was frightful to behold. His descendants were not aware of the inner workings of the Heavenly Corpse sect. He had come out from the Heavenly Corpse sect, not knowing what was happening within his own sect. He spoke with a cold and authoritative voice. Li Duanshuan has dominated Jiang country for 500 years, and upon breaking through to nascent Soul True Lord, he slew a 4th-rank demon king. Now his strength is unfathomable. It would not be easy for the sect master of the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Five Poisons cult leader to repel this killer star. Even if the Heavenly Corpse sect master and the Five Poisons cult leader could drive Li Duanshuan back, an invasion by Jin kingdom would take years, if not decades. If Qingyun sect's army presses upon us before that, how can our Xiahou family hold out until that day arrives? Xiahou Jie's voice was chilling as he spoke. Ancestor, since it's like this, why don't we abandon Blackwater Pool outright? Xiahou Wuo with a grave expression said to his ancestor. Abandon Blackwater Pool. Xiahou Jie's ashen face was as rigid as metal, with dark evil qi flowing from his nostrils and mouth, like tiny snakes. Once we abandon Blackwater Pool, where can our Xiahou family go? Once it is confirmed that we've colluded with the demon path, leaving Jiang country would be a wild and foolish dream. By that time the Heavenly Corpse sect in Jin Kingdom would also view us as traitors, leaving no place for our Xiahou family. Furthermore, I have transformed myself into the Dark Demon Corpse, and now my life force and mana are connected to the veins of Blackwater Pool, making it impossible for me to leave this place. Xiahou Jie's voice was icy with surging evil qi all around him. He saw Xiahou Wuo's troubled expression and said with an unfluctuating voice, "Don't worry, it won't be easy for Qingyun sect to destroy our Xiahou family here at Blackwater Pool. They would need to pay a heavy price. As long as we hold out until the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Five Poisons cult drive back Li Duanshuan, the crises facing our Xiahou family will also be resolved. Now that Qingyun sect has discovered our relations with the Heavenly Corpse sect, there is no need to hide any longer. Convert the family's great formation into the 10,000 corpses mysterious formation." Xiahou Jie continued. "Yes, ancestor." Both of them nodded in response. Knowing that their ancestor was sending the direct bloodline out of Jiang country as a precaution. And now that things had come to this point, the Xiahou family had no other choice. On the third floor of the spiritual vessel in a luxurious guest room. True Immortal, the poison within Fairy Qingyi is extremely domineering. It has already invaded her heart meridians. I am powerless to help. A woman in green garments cautiously reported after examining Chu Qingjia's condition on the bed. You've worked hard. Qian True Immortal's face showed a trace of disappointment. She also knew that the poison in Chu Qingjia's body was extremely tough and difficult to handle. Otherwise, as a false core immortal, she wouldn't need to seek help on a spiritual vessel, asking others to save Chu Qingyi. This was a situation with no other solution. Looking at Chu Qingyi lying there with chaotic and weak breaths. Chapter 445. It seems that this Mr. Han is a true gentleman. She continued to use her own mana to suppress the corpse poison, protecting the heart meridians and nurturing the physical body. But she could clearly feel that the corpse poison was not only spreading throughout the entire body, Dantian and Qi Si, but also causing Chu Qingjia's vitality to weaken continuously. Fearing that in a few more hours she would pass away. Even if the spiritual vessel traveled swiftly, there was no way to return to the Qingyun sect in time for treatment. Fellow Daoists, if any of you have spirit pills or precious medicines that can drive out or resolve poison or any treasures, you are all welcome to give it a try. Regardless of the effect, this true immortal will provide compensation, and if you can suppress or detoxify the poison in my disciple nephew's body and ensure a stable return to Qingyun sect, our sect will certainly be grateful and owe you a favor. Qian True Immortal took a deep breath and continued to address the people on the spiritual vessel. Chu Qingyi was not only an inheritor of Qingyun sect, but also a disciple of Kaiyun True Immortal. Now that she was in a life-threatening condition due to a mission from Qingyun sect, she naturally wouldn't give up easily. On the spiritual vessel, everyone was aware of Fairy Qingyi's condition. Hearing Qian True Immortal's words, they couldn't help but feel tempted to try their own elixir medicines. After all, Qingyun sect had a fairly good reputation. If they could save Chu Qingyi and gain a favor from Qingyun sect, it would be advantageous for them in many endeavors in Jiang country in the future. It seems that the main problem for Fairy Qingyi lies within the toxins in her body. I wonder if my 7 luminary sword qi can disperse this poison? Upon hearing Qian True Immortal's words, Lu Chongxing quietly mused. Qian True Immortal, driven by desperation, was willing to grasp at any strand of hope. This made him consider giving it a try as well. After all, his 7 luminary sword qi could not only refine elixir toxicity, but also disperse the resentful spirits from false core immortals. It might have some effect on these kinds of poisons. Maybe I should give it a try. After thinking it over, Lu Chongxing decided to make an attempt. Not to mention that saving Chu Qingyi would mean Qingyun sect owed him a favor. This Fairy Qingyi was also the senior sister of his child's mother, and he was willing to lend a hand. After all, he was just attempting to use the 7 luminary sword qi to drive out the poison. It wasn't like he was going to use the yin-yang nirvana technique, or the life transference technique, to save someone. By the way, if I were to use the yin-yang nirvana technique and life transference technique, wouldn't that make me a divine doctor? Lu Chongqing suddenly recalled how he once saved Lu Miaoge, who was on the brink of death and barely clinging to life, with these two secret techniques. He shook his head, stepped out of the guest room and made his way to the deck. Fellow Su, the cultivation technique I practice has some effect on expelling poisons. I am willing to give it a try to help Fairy Qingyi, Lu Chongqing said to a Qingyun sect disciple. Good fellow Han, please come with me. This Qingyun sect disciple immediately invited Lu Chongqing to the third floor. Then he went to a door and knocked. Enter, came an aged voice from inside. Elder, this is Han Li. He claims the cultivation technique he practices has some effect on driving out poison. The Qingyun sect disciple spoke up. I am Han Li and I have the honor of meeting Qiyun True Immortal. Lu Chongqing greeted Qiyun True Immortal with a cupped fist salute. Since that is the case, I shall trouble you, young friend Han. Qiyun True Immortal glanced at Lu Chongqing and nodded slightly. Although she didn't believe that Lu Chongqing could resolve Chu Qingjia's situation, she was still willing to try anything in a desperate situation. Yes, I will do my utmost. Lu Chongqing nodded, approached the bed and looked at Chu Qingyi. Fairy Qingyi's wounds had already been treated at this point, but her beautiful countenance and fair skin showed a grayish-green hue, indicating that toxins had spread through her body, causing her to be weak and frail. True Immortal, I need physical contact to use my cultivation technique on Fairy Qingyi to expel the poison. Lu Chongqing prepared to grasp Chu Qingjia's wrist to start trying to use the Seven Luminaries' sword qi to expel the poison, but he considered the rule that men and women should not touch each other casually. Moreover, for cultivators, physical contact allows one to use their divine sense to understand the full condition of the other person's body. Therefore, in the cultivation world, using mana or divine sense to touch someone else's body is considered taboo. It doesn't matter, Qiyun True Immortal said. In a critical situation she didn't have so many concerns. All right, Lu Chongqing nodded, took hold of Chu Qingjia's wrist. Mana surged within him and Seven Luminaries' sword qi emerged through his body, slowly entering Chu Qingjia's body through the palm of his hand. Such pure and sharp sword qi. Qiyun True Immortal observed the strands of Seven Luminaries' sword qi, and her eyes suddenly saw Lu Chongqing in a new light. Upon contact with the Seven Luminaries' sword qi, the grayish-green hue on Chu Qingjia's delicate arms started to sizzle like a hot frying pan, and the discoloration receded at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ing. Lying on the bed, Chu Qingjia's forehead beaded with sweat and she made a soft moan. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Watching this scene, Qiyun True Immortal immediately showed an expression of joy on her face. Her own false core mana could only suppress the corpse poison in Chu Qingjia's body and slowly expel it. But now Lu Changsheng's sword qi was able to quickly disperse the poison, which was astonishing. Is it really effective? Lu Chongqing observed this scene and raised an eyebrow. He had only hoped to try it out, but he hadn't expected the poison to be so easily dealt with, which increased his confidence in the effectiveness of the Seven Luminaries' sword qi. However, this was just the beginning. He could clearly sense that the entire body of Chu Qingyi was permeated with corpse poison. The most critical was that the poison had entered her heart meridians and dantian. These areas were extremely delicate. If he were to use the Seven Luminaries' sword qi to drive out the poison, it could be quite tricky and any carelessness could injure Chu Qingyi. Chapter 446. It seems that this Mr. Han is a true gentleman. True Immortal Qiyun, although my mana can disperse the corpse poison, once the poison has entered the heart meridians and dantian, if I continue to expel the poison, I fear it might easily harm Fairy Qingyi's heart meridians and dantian. After almost completely dispersing the poison in her forearm, Lu Chongqing wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, I can protect her heart meridians. Just go ahead and drive out the poison. Upon hearing this, True Immortal Qiyun immediately responded. Although she could not expel the poison, she could temporarily suppress it and protect the vital signs of Chu Qingyi. Yes. Lu Chongqing nodded at her words. He then prepared to raise his hand to Chu Qingjia's chest to expel the poison there. But the next moment his hand froze and he looked towards True Immortal Qiyun. It's all right. A healer has the heart of a parent. Han, my friend, you go ahead and expel the poison without worry. True Immortal Qiyun, understanding the implication, said solemnly. Yes. Only then did Lu Chongqing place his hand on her chest and continued to expel the poison with the 7 luminaries' sword qi. Even though he was separated by her dress, Lu Chongqing could feel the woman's skin was soft and delicate like condensed milk, with a faint fragrance lingering. Yet he, a man who had been through hundreds of battles, read through 1,000 scrolls. Although Fairy Qingyi was captivating, she was not enough to stir any wild thoughts in him. Not bad, it seems this Han is indeed a gentleman. True Immortal Qian watched Lu Chongqing seriously expelling poison from Chu Qingyi, nodding slightly to herself in admiration. She knew well the charm her niece possessed. Within the Qingyun sect, there were countless disciples who adored her and longed for her affection. Yet this Han, facing Chu Qingyi in such intimate healing, did not show the slightest bit of lewd expression. Threads of the 7 luminaries' sword qi penetrated through Lu Changsheng's palm, entering the area around Chu Qingji's heart meridians, dispersing the corpse poison. But this poison differed from the earlier one. Like a vile disease clung to the bone, spreading throughout the meridians, corroding them. Even the 7 luminaries' sword qi found it difficult to erase easily. Phew. After a while, Lu Chongqing withdrew his hand, exhaling deeply. With the profound origin bead, the consumption of his mana was naturally not that great. But as a false core immortal was present, he also did not want to show too much of his power, easily driving out the corpse poison. True Immortal, my mana is also unable to completely eradicate this corpse poison. I can only remove the surface poison, Lu Chongqing said to True Immortal Qian. He was not lying. This corpse poison most likely entered the body through several wounds, congregating here like a disease clung to the bone, and then spreading and proliferating, making it troublesome. Even he could not solve it in just a moment or two. It's already enough that you could do this. Thank you for your efforts, my friend Han. I have an elixir medicine here you can take to recover your mana. True Immortal Qian nodded, offering an elixir with a gentle tone. She did not need to completely eliminate the corpse poison. As long as Chu Qingji's life force remained and she lived to return to the Qingyun sect, that would suffice. Within the Qingyun sect were 3rd-rank healers, pharmacists and spirit pills, naturally confident in reviving Chu Qingyi. Thank you, True Immortal. Lu Chongqing nodded, recognizing the elixir medicine as a 2nd-tier top-level energy-restoring elixir. He immediately consumed it and quickly began to recover his mana. After sitting in meditation for half an hour, he continued to expel poison from Chu Qingyi. Woof. At this time, Chu Qingyi moaned on the bed, her pale and weak face blushed slightly as a mouthful of black blood spewed out. Am I still alive? Chu Qingji's long, dense eyelashes trembled lightly, and she slowly opened her beautiful eyes. She felt that after falling unconscious, she had plunged into an endless abyss of darkness. During that time she could feel waves of force trying to pull her out of the abyss. But all to no avail. Her consciousness was gradually fading. Finally, it was the powerful and domineering sword qi moving within her body that cleaved through the darkness of the abyss and gradually woke her consciousness. Fairy Qingyi, you've awakened. True Immortal Qian saw Chu Qingyi waking up and immediately showed a joyous expression. Phew. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing also withdrew his hand from her chest, sighing lightly. At that moment, Chu Qingyi became aware of the presence of a man with his hand on her chest. A touch of blush immediately appeared on her pale face. Fairy Qingyi, this Han has effective mana for expelling the poison, which is why he took such actions. True Immortal Qian spoke out to explain. She was aware that her niece was pure and proud, typically keeping away from men. Now she found herself intimately close to a man, which naturally could be discomforting. Thank you, Daoist Han. Chu Qingyi nodded slightly. She was not an unreasonable person. She knew that such intimate contact was part of her treatment. Had it not been for him, she might not have lived much longer. But before she could finish speaking, another mouthful of black blood burst forth. Daoist Han. True Immortal Qian looked toward Lu Chongqing, signaling him to continue the poison expulsion. Fairy Qingyi, pardon me. Lu Chongqing lifted his palm and spoke to Chu Qingyi. Chu Qingyi, with a voice as soft as a mosquito's murmur, gave a soft and closed her eyes, lying quietly on the bed. Her long, dense eyelashes fluttered like 2 small fans, constantly moving. Clearly she was extremely tense. The next moment she distinctly felt a warm hand land on her chest, causing her whole body to tense, her hands clenched into fists. Her feet arched tightly inside her white jade boots, and all 10 delicate toes were bunched together. The silken strands of sharp and domineering sword qi entered her body, dispersing the corpse poison around her heart meridians. Chapter 447. Seated Dao Debate Supreme Sect Decree, Annihilate the Xiahou clan. Under one Chu Qingjia's figure was exquisite, lying flat on the bed. Her pale face flushed slightly, her slender body tensed up, her narrow phoenix eyes tightly closed. Her thick, long eyelashes and tightly pursed lips trembled lightly and incessantly. She had been in a coma before, unconscious. She hadn't felt anything when Lu Chongqing expelled the poison from her using the 7 luminaries' sword qi. But now that she has woken up, she was fully conscious. She could clearly feel a warm, large hand pressing against her chest, making her feel awkward and quite uncomfortable. But at the same time, the domineering sword qi that slowly poured into her body from this palm brought her an indescribable comfort. It was as if she was in the icy snow, with a gentle warm breeze brushing against her. She felt as though she was bathing in the warm sun. As the sword qi traveled through her body, dispelling the elixir toxicity, she felt like she was soaking in a hot spring, her whole body warm and cozy, extremely comfortable. Even her mana was being subtly drawn by this sword qi. What is happening? Chu Qingjia's phoenix eyes remained tightly shut, unsure of what was going on. The other sword qi, why did it have such a strange attraction towards her? Is it because of the sword? Chu Qingyi murmured to herself. Since she could remember, she had been with the Qingyun sect, adopted by Yun Wanshang. She had always been a loner, not talkative and uninterested in most things. However, one day after seeing Yun Wanshang's sword, she became curious, feeling an inexplicable closeness. Yun Wanshang told her she had a sword heart. After cultivating, she became a sword cultivator. Indeed, it turned out she was exceptionally gifted in the sword Dao. With sword heart clarity, her heart devoted to the sword. She not only mastered one of Qingyun sect's cornerstone cultivation techniques, the Qingyun sword technique, but also soared ahead of others on the path of the sword. At this moment, she faintly sensed that this inexplicable attraction was coming from the sword qi of the man in front of her. This sword qi, just like when she had seen her master Yun Wanshang's sword, had a strange allure to her, making her feel a kinship. It made her want to discuss and exchange views on the sword Dao with him. Phew! At that moment, Lu Chongqing felt that he had almost finished expelling the poison from Chu Qingjia's heart veins and retracted his hand from her soft and smooth chest, exhaling a long breath. The moment his hand left, Chu Qingyi, who was quietly experiencing the mysteries of the sword qi, couldn't help but let out a soft moan. Her soft and weak body, after having most of the poison expelled, felt a wave of soreness and swelling. Her tensed feet within her jade boots slowly relaxed, and her cool voice carried a hint of coquettish charm. This moan immediately made Chu Qingjia's pale cheeks blush, her beautiful eyes cast down, somewhat embarrassed to look at Lu Chongqing. Lu Chongqing seemed not to notice her enticing moan. He said to Qian True Immortal with a serious face, "True Immortal, I have done my best to remove the poison from Fairy Qingjia's heart veins. As for the remaining poison, I lack the capability to completely eradicate it." He was telling the truth. To remove the deep-seated residual poison, he would have to use the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. Only by continuously burning the poison with the heart lamp's flame could he gradually refine it. However, it was clear he didn't need to go to such lengths. And he didn't want to show off too much. "You have worked hard, young friend Han," Qian True Immortal said. "Please rest and recover now, then continue to treat my disciple niece Qingjia's Dantian poison. Afterwards, our Qingyun sect will definitely reward you handsomely, owing you a favor," she continued. Qian True Immortal had been monitoring Chu Qingjia's heart veins and vital signs throughout. She knew that Chu Qingjia's heart vein poison had been mostly resolved. Enough to last until they reached Qingyun sect. However, the poison had invaded not only her heart veins but also her qi ocean core. If not treated promptly, it could damage her Dao foundation. Once the Dao foundation is compromised, even core formation could be affected, which would be very serious. As she spoke, she took out a bottle of elixir medicines and passed it to Lu Chongqing to help him recover his mana. "Yes, after I recover my mana," Lu Chongqing replied as he accepted the elixirs and bowed slightly. "Many thanks, friend Han." Chu Qingyi also calmed her emotions, her face a bit flushed, and quietly thanked Lu Chongqing. Fairy Qingyi need not be polite. As it happens, I am good friends with Fairy Shiyu, and it is thanks to Fairy Shiyu that I was able to board your sect's spiritual vessel, Lu Chongqing said with a smile. He had boarded the spiritual vessel using the ticket given to him by Xianxia. The Qingyun sect had record of this information. If the Qingyun sect were to investigate his information, they would find out that he was acquainted with Xianxia. Therefore he openly disclosed his acquaintance with Xianxia. It was also a way to show a degree of closeness to the Qingyun sect. Friend Han is actually a good friend of my junior sister, Chu Qingyi exclaimed with a bit of surprise when she heard this. Although she was often on missions away from the sect and didn't spend much time with her junior sister Xiaoxia, she knew that her junior sister, due to cultivating the supreme forgetful love technique, was like the 9 heavens bright moon, undisturbed by emotions and external distractions. Aside from cultivating, she showed no interest in anything else, let alone socializing with others. Unexpectedly, this friend Han before her had become good friends with her own junior sister. But thinking of the 7 luminaries' sword qi that Lu Chongqing used to expel her poison, she felt somewhat relieved in her heart. She thought it was natural for someone like him to become friends with her junior sister. I didn't expect young friend Han to be good friends with Xiao, Qiyun True Immortal commented with slight astonishment. Then a smile appeared on her face. With Lu Changsheng's mention now that they had this connection, she regarded Lu Chongqing with added friendliness. I happened to encounter Shiyu Fairy during her training, so I was fortunate to get to know her, Lu Chongqing added. Chapter 448. Seated Dao Debate Supreme Sect Decree, Annihilate the Xiaohou clan. Lu Chongqing said politely. Upon hearing this, the two did not ask any further questions. Anyone able to board this spiritual vessel generally had some relationship with the Qingyun sect. Either they were forces in cooperation with Qingyun sect, or they were forces under its jurisdiction, or they had relationships with disciples of Qingyun sect. Lu Chongqing swallowed the elixir medicines and sat in meditation to recover his mana. This spirit pill was a second-tier top-level elixir. In about half an hour, Lu Changsheng's mana had mostly recuperated. Qingyi Fairy, he said, turning his gaze to Chu Qingyi on the bed, who possessed a slender willowy waist and straight, long legs, her curves exquisite, with an air of heroic grace. Thank you for your trouble, Han. Chu Qingyi's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she said softly, then closed her beautiful eyes. Lu Chongqing extended his hand and placed it on her soft and flat lower abdomen. Doing so allowed the 7 luminaries' sword qi to better penetrate into her dantian, dispelling the poison inside. As soon as the 7 luminaries' sword qi surged into her dantian, Chu Qingyi's body tensed up and she couldn't help but let out a soft moan. If previously the 7 luminaries' sword qi traveled through her body, dispelling the corpse poison in her vital channels and giving her the warm and comfortable feeling of soaking in a hot spring, this time as the sword qi entered her dantian, it seemed to resonate mysteriously with her own mana and Dao foundation. Deep down she felt an inexplicable closeness to Lu Chongqing, who was currently before her. Relax a bit. Lu Chongqing looked at Chu Qingyi before him, his expression also showing a hint of confusion. Chu Qingyi was clearly poisoned with corpse poison. Why was her complexion flushed and she kept letting out involuntary delicate moans? Could it be that the corpse poison also contained elements of some seductive poison? It's a good thing she met me, Lu. With anyone else, keeping a calm mind to expel the poison would be difficult, Lu Chongqing mused to himself. However, even with his vast experience, he had to admit that the Chu Qingyi before him was captivating. Her exquisite beauty and elegant figure surpassed countless other women. Even now, ashen and weak, devoid of color in her face, she still possessed a rare and refreshing heroic spirit among female cultivators. Moreover, this woman was a true disciple of Qingyun sect, endowed with exceptional talent. If he could marry her and have children, the children would certainly inherit excellent talents. Lu Changsheng's hand rested on the fairy's smooth and flat lower abdomen, as strands of 7 luminaries' sword qi slowly flowed into Chu Qingyi's qi ocean core, dispelling the corpse poison. At this moment he discovered that when his 7 luminaries' sword qi entered deep into Chu Qingyi's qi ocean core, it resonated somewhat with her mana and Dao foundation. This sensation was very peculiar. He had never encountered it before. Is it because this Qingyi fairy is also a sword cultivator? Lu Chongqing wondered in surprise. Such a situation was exceedingly rare. Usually, such resonance occurred when the cultivation techniques practiced by individuals had some similar characteristics. However, this resonance merely allowed his 7 luminaries' sword qi to expel toxins from Chu Qingjia's dantian more smoothly, like a fish taking to water. It had no other effects. If anything, the two could perhaps sit down, discuss sword techniques, and exchange their cultivation experiences and insights, which might lead to some inspiration and assistance. But Lu Changsheng's 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, inherited through the system, was already very familiar to him, naturally leaving nothing to discuss. It seems young friend Han's cultivation technique is no ordinary technique, to be able to resonate with our Qingyun sect's Qingyun sword technique, showing a degree of commonality. Qiyun True Immortal, who had been using mana to maintain Chu Qingjia's vitality, also faintly sensed the unusual resonance and couldn't help being surprised. Their Qingyun sect's sect-protecting green sword art was a peripheral sect-level technique. If Lu Changsheng's cultivation technique could resonate with their sword scripture, it indicated his technique was anything but common. At the very least, it was a peripheral sect-level technique. For a loose cultivator to cultivate such a heritage technique suggested he was not simple and had possessed extraordinary fate to obtain such an opportunity and inheritance. Indeed, if he were an ordinary loose cultivator, he wouldn't have been able to associate and become acquainted with a heavenly genius like my junior martial niece Shiyu. Qiyun True Immortal cast a glance at Lu Changsheng. All right then. After quite some time having dispelled most of the corpse poison in Chu Qingjia's Qi Ocean core, Lu Changsheng withdrew his hand and said with a cupped fist salute. Thank you, Han. Chu Qingyi forcibly endured the tension in her delicate body, managing not to emit another embarrassing moan. Possibly due to the sustained suppression of her voice, usually clear and cold, now carried a slightly husky and magnetic quality. Fairy Qingyi is too polite, Lu Changsheng replied with a slight bow, thinking to himself that her attempts to suppress herself revealed a rather charming demeanor. Young friend Han, you've taken a lot of trouble this time. Here is a high-rank second-grade breakthrough elixir which should be helpful for someone in the Foundation Establishment middle stage aiming for the Foundation Establishment late stage. Please accept it. For this deed our Qingyun sect also owes you a favor. If there is anything in the future, young friend can carry this token and come to our Qingyun sect. At this moment Qiyun True Immortal took out a porcelain bottle and a token, speaking forth. On one hand, this was to thank Lu Changsheng for saving Chu Qingyi. On the other hand, it was also their Qingyun sect's willingness to be acquainted with a talented loose cultivator like Lu Changsheng. Such a generous gift I truly feel undeserving. Lu Changsheng appreciated the elixir, thinking that as expected, a big sect like theirs was very generous. A high-grade first-rank breakthrough elixir for advancing from the energy refinement middle stage to the energy refinement late stage cost 1,200 spirit stones. But a high-rank second-grade breakthrough elixir valuable for pushing from the Foundation Establishment middle stage to the Foundation Establishment late stage was worth more than 10 times as much. Valued at over 20,000 spirit stones, and moreover such elixir medicines were extremely scarce. Classified as priceless commodities, often there was no way to acquire them, even with money and without the right channels. Presumably, Qiyun True Immortal noticed that he was at the Foundation Establishment middle stage, which is why she offered such a valuable elixir as compensation. Chapter 449. Seated Dao Debate Supreme Sect Decree, Annihilate the Xiahou clan. As long as Han is not displeased, Qiyun True Immortal said with a smile. Under the circumstances of owing a favor to someone in the Qingyun sect, a generous gift in return is actually quite meaningful. But Lu Changsheng and Xianxia are good friends, and considering the recent poison removal process, her impression of Lu Changsheng was quite favorable, and she felt a degree of fondness towards him. Therefore she was also willing to be more generous and reciprocate the good deed. Many thanks, True Immortal. Since that's the case, Han will take his leave and rest, Lu Changsheng said aloud. Since Chu Qingjia's corpse poison had been largely eliminated, it was not appropriate for him to linger any longer. And also the poison removal process had been quite draining on the mental spirit. One had to be fully focused to prevent the sword qi from injuring Chu Qingyi. You've worked hard, young friend, Qiyun True Immortal nodded. He then turned to a Qingyun sect Foundation Establishment disciple outside and said, Xianfeng, arrange a luxurious guest room for Han. Yes, elder. The disciple called Xianfeng from the Qingyun sect immediately responded upon hearing this. Seeing Lu Chongqing in the room for so long, he knew that Lu Chongqing must have had some effect on Chu Qingjia's poison. He was a few degrees more courteous towards Lu Chongqing, gesturing with an inviting hand, "Han Daoist friend, please." Then he led Lu Chongqing to a luxurious guest room. This luxurious guest room was only about 30 square meters. But compared to ordinary guest rooms, this room was abundant in spiritual energy. It seemed that the spiritual energy that maintained the operation of the spiritual vessel was also channeled into this room on the 3rd floor, allowing one to meditate and cultivate. Unlike in ordinary guest rooms where the spiritual energy was sparse. If you wanted to meditate and cultivate to recover mana, you could only rely on elixir medicines, spirit stones, spiritual wine, spiritual tea and other means. I wonder how significant this so-called favor is, and whether it's possible to get a qualification to purchase a spirit land from the Qingyun sect? Lu Chongqing didn't pay much attention to the surroundings, taking out the jade token that Qiyun True Immortal had given him from his storage bag. Regarding the favor owed to the Qingyun sect, the first thing that came to mind was to acquire the qualification to purchase spirit land through the Qingyun sect. In other aspects, he didn't really need to trouble the Qingyun sect for the time being. Later, he'll ask Shiyu about the weight of this favor, thought Lu Chongqing, holding the jade token and pondering. He planned to ask Xianxia what the jade token represented and how the Qingyun sect might reciprocate. In that way he could maximize the benefits of the favor. Speaking of which, I hope this spiritual vessel won't need to return to the Qingyun sect first before heading to Zhou Immortal City. Lu Chongqing put away the jade token and looked out at the sea of clouds outside the window. If they return to the Qingyun sect and then head to Zhou Immortal City, it might cause a delay of a month or two. However, 5 days later the spiritual vessel slowly came to a halt. Lu Chongqing saw a man and a woman come aboard the spiritual vessel. Are these people from the Qingyun sect? Lu Chongqing guessed. The cultivation levels of these two people, one was at the middle stage of foundation establishment, while the other was beyond his perception. Either they had some treasure to conceal their mana, or their strength surpassed foundation establishment. After a long while he heard a knock at the door. The door opened and Chu Qingyi was standing outside. "Han Daoist friend," Chu Qingyi greeted Lu Chongqing with a bow. Although she still appeared weak and disordered in her breathing, her complexion was much improved compared to before. She was dressed in an elegant palace gown and white skirt, her long black hair casually tied into a high ponytail, carrying a sky-blue spirit sword on her back. Her phoenix eyes were narrow and determined, and her whole being was like an unsheathed sharp sword. "Qingyi fairy," Lu Chongqing looked at Chu Qingyi before him. He thought to himself that her temperament was somewhat similar to Xiaoxia's usual demeanor, cold and aloof, making her difficult to approach. However, Xiaoxia's temperament lacked this edge and sharpness, and was more noble and pure. Yet this kind of female sword immortal demeanor also gave a stunning beauty to her presence. "Han Daoist friend, I will remember your life-saving grace in my heart. If there is anything you need in the future, you may come to the Qingyun sect," Chu Qingyi said to Lu Chongqing. "Fairy Qingyi is being too polite. If there is an opportunity, Han will certainly visit the Qingyun sect and discuss swordsmanship with Fairy Qingyi," Lu Chongqing responded with a smile and a bow. He was also willing to foster relations with such a sect prodigy. After all, every interpersonal relationship could be helpful for the future development of his family. As for other thoughts, to say there were none would naturally be impossible. Such a talented female sword immortal would indeed make a great mother of one's child. But having the relationship with Xiaoxia, he did not feel it was appropriate to make a move on her senior sister. After all, she had a core formation master. If her master found out what he was considering, he really feared a single sword strike would end him. "All right," Chu Qingyi, hearing this, showed a hint of joy in her eyes. She wasn't interested in most things, she was only interested in the sword. Previously, when Lu Chongqing helped her with the poison, she resonated with the 7 luminaries' sword qi, and felt an inexplicable affinity. She wanted to discuss sword Dao with Lu Chongqing. But on one hand, her injuries were severe, and she was not in a condition to move around. On the other hand, she didn't know how to initiate the conversation. After all, she wanted to exchange cultivation experiences and insights into the sword Dao, but others might not be willing. Now that Lu Chongqing had taken the initiative, she was naturally very pleased. After a brief farewell, Chu Qingyi joined the 2 people who had just arrived and boarded a small spirit boat, turning into a beam of light and quickly flew away. Next, the spiritual vessel will officially set sail back. Due to an affair in our sect delaying everyone's journey, upon arrival at Zhou Xian Immortal City, we will refund 30% of the ticket's spirit stones as compensation, and we ask for everyone's understanding. Qian True Immortal's voice rang out on the spiritual vessel. This served as a simple explanation for all the passengers. As for this form of compensation, naturally no one had any complaints. Because even if Qian True Immortal and Qinyun sect offered no compensation or explanation, there would be no choice but to hold one's peace. Chapter 450. Seated Dao Debate. Supreme Sect Decree. Annihilate the Xiahou clan. At last we are setting sail. Upon hearing this voice, Lu Chongxing exhaled deeply as he watched the spiritual vessel head back toward Jiuxiao Immortal City. He had thought there would be a delay of a month or two. But at this pace it was only a delay of 10 days to half a month. He considered that manageable. Straight away he took out his brush and paper and continued his work on crafting talismans. Half a month later, a spirit boat entered Qinyun sect. Upon Kaiyun Peak, Yun Wanshang saw the spirit boat and immediately transformed into a rainbow streak, shooting out toward it. She had been in seclusion when she learned of her disciple's situation and had come out to wait for Chu Qingji's return. I pay my respects to Kaiyun True Immortal. I pay my respects to Kaiyun True Immortal. The two individuals on the spirit boat quickly bowed their hands in salute upon seeing Yun Wanshang. You have both worked hard. Yun Wanshang nodded. Since the Qinyun sect was too far from where the giant spiritual vessel was located, she had sent the two to go in her stead. She then turned with concern to Chu Qingyi, who looked pale and disordered. Qingyi, how are you faring? Master, I am unharmed, Chu Qingyi said, bowing her hands to her master. As she spoke, she reported, Master, I have fulfilled my duty without disgrace. Based on my investigation of the Xiahou family's ancestral land, the Xiahou family is likely an undercover agent for the Tian Corps sect of Jin Kingdom. There is also a hidden Yin vein below Blackwater Pool, through which the Xiahou family has been nurturing and refining corpses. Furthermore, based on my speculation, there are likely more than one false core immortal in the Xiahou family, Chu Qingyi said, sharing the information she had gathered. Undercover agents of the Heavenly Corpse sect. As I had expected. But I never imagined that the Xiahou family had concealed themselves so deeply, Yun Wanshang said, her beautiful eyes flashing coldly. To think there was a Yin vein beneath Blackwater Pool. No wonder Blackwater Pool, even though originally a low-grade second-rank spirit vein with harsh conditions, was valued by the Xiahou family, who chose to establish roots there and invested heavily in nurturing it. A false core immortal nearby commented upon hearing this. Qingyi, let's go. We will report this matter to the sect leader, Yun Wanshang said, her presence overwhelming as she and Chu Qingyi headed toward Qinyun Grand Hall. She had Chu Qingyi report the affairs of the Xiahou family truthfully to the Qinyun sect leader. The Xiahou family Heavenly Corpse sect, the sect leader mused aloud. It seems the Xiahou family is indeed one of Heavenly Corpse sect's moles. With the sect hierarch of the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Five Poisons cult leader challenging Shenzhen True Monarch, seeking to invade our Jiang country, various moles from the Heavenly Corpse sect, Five Poisons cult, and Yiming Ghost sect have begun to make their moves, surfacing from the shadows, said the Qinyun sect leader with an authoritative voice and calm dignity. Since the Xiahou family is within our Qinyun sect's territory and has now been exposed, it must be dealt with promptly. Kaiyun sister, why don't you lead the team to handle this matter? The Qinyun sect leader suggested, looking at Yun Wanshang. It is possible, Yun Wanshang nodded and replied. She then added, however, Qingyi has made great contributions in investigating the Xiahou family this time. After this battle, it should be certain that she will receive her coagulation crystal elixir. Agreed, the sect leader murmured thoughtfully, nodding in agreement. Outside Qingzhou Mountain. On that day, a Qinyun sect disciple descended on a spirit boat. I pay my respects to my senior. The Lu family guards immediately replied with a respectful greeting upon seeing the Qinyun sect disciple. Summon the one in charge of Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain. The Qinyun sect disciple commanded, his voice authoritative. Please wait a moment, senior, said the Lu family guard without delay. He promptly sent a message, notifying the family head Lu Miaochong and the old ancestor Lu Yuanzhong. Soon Lu Miaochong and Lu Yuanzhong rushed over in haste. The Supreme Sect has a decree. The Xiahou family of Blackwater Pool has colluded with the Demon Path and injured our Qingyun disciples, and now we call upon all families to join in the attack," the Qingyun sect disciple declared, presenting a token and speaking loudly as soon as he saw Lu Yuanzhong. "The Xiahou family of Blackwater Pool has colluded with the Demon Path?" Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Miaochong were utterly shocked upon hearing this news. After all, the Xiahou family was a prominent cultivation clan. A family overseen by false core immortals. An entity that they, the Lu family, usually looked up to. But now, with Qingyun sect declaring that the Xiahou family had colluded with the Demon Path and summoning all families to attack, it became clear they intended to eradicate the Xiahou family entirely. Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain obeys the command. Lu Yuanzhong responded without hesitation with respect in his voice. These families under the jurisdiction of Qingyun sect typically only had to provide tributes on schedule, and Qingyun sect would not interfere with their affairs. But once there was a command from Qingyun sect, they had to comply unconditionally without opposition. Not just Qingzhou Mountain. The Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain, the Wugong Ridge Xing family, the Hundred Birds Lake Bai family, the Ning family of the Stream Mountain, the Zhao family of White Tiger Mountain, and other family powers under Qingyun sect's jurisdiction, all received the order. After all, to destroy the Xiahou family was not a matter of sending a single nascent soul immortal to deal with it and annihilate the entire Xiahou clan. Even a nascent soul immortal could leave something unchecked. Furthermore, to eradicate the Xiahou clan included also dealing with subordinate families, markets under their control and external disciples, among other things. If all these tasks were to be handled by Qingyun sect alone, it would require a significant temporary reshuffling of forces and disciples which might lead to losses. That's why these family powers within the region had their uses at such times. Chapter 451. Arriving at Jiuxiao Immortal City, meeting Meng Xiaochan again under the Qingzhou Grand Hall. The War Council Chamber. Lu Yuanzhong, the Lu family ancestor, was discussing with all the Lu family senior members and elders about the Qingyun sect's campaign against the Xiahou clan. Now that the Supreme Sect had issued an order, their Qingzhou's Lu family must send people to obey the summons and participate in this war. For these family powers, the war, though dangerous, was also an opportunity. As long as they made military contributions, the Qingyun sect would also reward them according to their achievements afterward. Spirit stones, magic artifacts, elixir medicines, secret cultivation techniques and other rare resources that usually couldn't be purchased could all be obtained in exchange for military contributions. Since that is the case, let's settle on this. In 3 days, Uncle Yunhan, Uncle Yunfei, Yuan Shan, Yuan Hua, Yuan Ling, Miaofeng, will accompany me to participate in this battle. Lu Yuanzhong announced decisively. Then turning to Lu Yuanding and Lu Miaochong he said, Yuanding, Miaochong, you both take care of the family. Although it is said that during the war all family powers must not engage in conflicts, there's no guarantee that robber cultivators won't take the opportunity to cause trouble. So, during this time, you must all be on alert, increase the patrol frequency of the family, and if necessary, use thunderous methods to suppress any disturbances. Lu Yuanzhong commanded in a deep voice. Yes. As you command. Please rest assured, ancestor. In the hall, numerous figures rose to their feet and respectfully responded to Lu Yuanzhong. Miaoga, do you know where Chongqing has gone and if he can return to oversee the family? After the discussion had ended, Lu Yuanzhong looked towards Lu Miaoga and sent a telepathic inquiry. As the family ancestor, he now had to lead a part of the elders, senior members and elite forces away from home. This would surely lead to a considerable weakening of the Lu family's internal strength. If Lu Chongqing, the second-grade talisman master, were there to oversee things, it would add an extra layer of security. Moreover, having achieved the foundation establishment and being an ancestor, he was naturally not foolish. Through Lu Changsheng's various actions, his children and his spiritual pets, he had long since realized that Lu Chongqing was not as simple as he appeared on the surface. He hid many secrets, and it was very possible that his cultivation level was much higher than just the 7th level of energy refinement. Thus, having Lu Chongqing in Qingzhou Mountain to oversee things would make the family much more secure. Ancestor, Chongqing has gone out on a matter with a friend and estimates that it will take at least a year before he can return, Lu Miao replied, pursing her lips slightly. She had not expected that just 3 months after Lu Chongqing had left, such a situation would arise. However, Lu Chongqing had not told her where he was going on this trip. All right. Lu Yunzhong sighed slightly upon hearing this. He knew that Lu Chongqing wouldn't be able to come back soon to oversee the family. He then said to Lu Miaoge, "Miaoge, for the time being, the affairs of the Red Leaf Valley Market will be your responsibility." "Yes, ancestor." Lu Miaoge nodded earnestly. With the second elder Lu Yuanling, also accompanying Lu Yuanzhong on the trip, the responsibility for the Red Leaf Valley Market had fallen upon her. After pondering for a moment, Lu Miaoge telepathically conveyed, "Ancestor, Chongqing has a foundation establishment friend from the Qingyun sect. Before he left, he said if we run into any trouble I should seek out his friend. So please rest assured, ancestor." Not long ago, Xianxia had come to the Red Leaf Valley Market to see her daughter Lu Wangshu. She had also made the acquaintance of this Shiyu fairy. So to reassure her own ancestor and considering that if the family really faced a great crisis or trouble, she thought of seeking help from this Shiyu fairy. In the bottom layers of the cultivation world, having a relationship with a foundation establishment friend from the immortal sex was considered a very dependable background to rely on. It could act as a deterrent and solve many problems. A foundation establishment friend from the Qingyun sect? Very good, very good. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanzhong's eyes immediately showed a hint of pleasant surprise. He had not expected that Lu Chongqing would have such a connection. Knowing that even just a visiting foundation establishment cultivator from the immortal sex could have a certain deterrent effect when visiting Qinzhou Mountain. However, thinking back to the previous battle with the Qin family, when the Qin family's betraying foundation establishment female cultivator was present, Lu Yuanzhong suddenly became curious to ask whether Lu Changsheng's friend from the immortal sex was also a female cultivator. Still, as the family ancestor, he restrained his curiosity and didn't delve into such gossip. 2 months later. We finally arrived. Lu Chongqing stood on the deck of the spiritual vessel, overlooking the sea of clouds. He could faintly make out a towering immortal city shrouded in multicolored light below. As the spiritual vessel slowed down, the grandeur of Zhou Immortal City grew larger in Lu Changsheng's view, so magnificent that the surrounding mountains seemed like mere hills to set it off. Zhou Immortal City, so this is what an immortal city looks like. No wonder, in the vast Jiang country cultivation realm with many marketplaces, there are only 3 immortal cities. Lu Chongqing marveled inwardly at the ever-clearer and extremely majestic Zhou Immortal City. This immortal city occupied hundreds of miles, several times larger than the Qingyun market. The surrounding towering mountains seemed to be cleaved by a sword to create spacious and flat roads. On the roads, one could see many beasts of burden and cultivators coming and going as if they were merchant convoys from the secular world. But in the skies above, many cultivators were constantly moving about. Magic artifacts, flying boats, spiritual artifacts, escape lights, all dazzling, indicating that this was not any secular world but a world of immortals. Foundation establishment great cultivators, rarely seen on a daily basis, were quite common here. From time to time, escape lights from foundation establishment cultivators could be seen. Half an hour later, the massive spiritual vessel slowly hovered in front of the gate of Zhou Immortal City. "Fellow Daoists, we have arrived at Zhou Immortal City," said Qian True Immortal as his voice echoed on the spiritual vessel. All the passengers came to the deck, ready to disembark from the spiritual vessel. "Han Daoist friend, this is the 30% refund of the boat ticket due to the travel delay." Chapter 452. Arriving at Zhou Immortal City, meeting Meng Xiaochan again at that moment, a Qingyun sect disciple named Xianfeng took out 3 middle-grade spirit stones and handed them to Lu Chongqing. 30% of the ticket price. Lu Chongqing remembered what Qian True Immortal had said earlier, that due to deviation from the course, delaying the journey, 30% of the ticket price would be refunded as compensation. That meant his ride on the spiritual vessel cost him 1,000 spirit stones. However, when Xianxia had given him the ticket earlier, she did not mention anything about spirit stones. This indicated that Xianxia had paid for the spirit stones herself. Made sense too. Even though Xianxia was a core disciple of the Qingyun sect, it wasn't possible to ride the spiritual vessel without paying. "Thank you, Daoist Xianfeng." Lu Chongqing accepted the spirit stones. He couldn't help thinking to himself how expensive the ticket actually was. Even a regular cabin ticket cost 1,000 spirit stones. Not to mention a luxury cabin ticket, which must be 3,000 to 4,000 spirit stones. But he also understood that this price was probably just to cover the travel expenses. A vessel like this, traveling from Qingyun Market to Zhou Immortal City, consumed a significant amount of spirit stones. Moreover, through conversations over these days, Lu Chongxing also learned that this spiritual vessel mainly ferried between the Zhou Immortal City for Qingyun sect and Heavenly Sword sect's business or strategic exchanges. Carrying other passengers was just incidental. Daoist Han is too polite. Due to the matter with Chu Qingyi, Xianfeng was very courteous to Lu Chongxing. After giving a polite bow, he went to return the spirit stones to the other passengers. Daoist Han, if in the future you wish to return to Qingyun Market, you are welcome to board the spiritual vessel again. At this time, Qian True Immortal also came up on deck and looking towards Lu Chongxing with a smile said, "Thank you, True Immortal." Lu Chongxing returned the greeting with a bow. Afterward, he flew down from the spiritual vessel and arrived at the entrance of Zhou Immortal City. As soon as he descended, without the formation's spiritual light from the vessel enveloping him, he felt an intense oppressive force in the air. It was the third-rank great formation of Zhou Immortal City. The rumors say that a third-rank formation having fully connected with the spirit veins and becoming one with them, possesses the capability to create its own domain. Attempting to disturb such a great formation with a single attack or using talismans for breaking prohibitions is hardly effective. Lu Chongxing looked at the city walls covered in various rune imprints and glowing with formation light, contemplating inwardly. Because of his family's formation, he had spent a considerable amount of time learning about formations. He knew that once a formation reached the third rank, it underwent a qualitative transformation. It could fully connect with the spirit veins and create its own domain. This not only allowed the locking of spirit veins easily but also the distribution of spiritual energy concentration among different areas. It also meant that the Great Formation had no weak points. Any assault or prohibition-breaking measures would have their power drastically reduced. All attacks would be distributed through this domain by the Great Formation. To such a domain, even the attacks of nascent soul immortals were limited. If a third-rank formation master presided over the Great Formation, maximizing its might, the power would be truly astonishing. Lu Chongxing did not linger. Following the crowd, he entered a side hall at the city gate, registered his information, paid spirit stones and got his identity token. This immortal city charges only 10 spirit stones annually, which isn't expensive at all. After handling his identity token, Lu Chongxing took the token and entered the immortal city. As soon as he entered the city, he felt a sudden weight on him, a mysterious pressure descending upon him. Is this a flying prohibition? Lu Chongxing's eyebrows knitted slightly. He immediately knew it was the effect of the Celestial City formation, preventing Foundation establishment cultivators from flying within the city. In places like Red Leaf Valley Market or Nine Dragons Market, although using artifacts to fly and riding spiritual beasts were prohibited, once one became a Foundation establishment cultivator, they could fly within the marketplace. But Zhou Immortal City's Great Formation directly imposed a flying prohibition, preventing even Foundation establishment cultivators from easily flying within the city. It makes sense for a city like this with numerous Foundation establishment cultivators, allowing unrestrained flying would greatly affect the order. And with the flying prohibition, if someone caused trouble in the city facing the enforcement team, escaping would be difficult. Lu Chongxing murmured to himself, growing even more appreciative of the might of the third-rank Great Formation. Without delay, he began to stroll through Zhou Immortal City. Zhou Immortal City was divided into 3 major areas: the Outer City District, Inner City District, and Zhou Mountain. True large shops and businesses were all located in the Inner City District. However, the city's outer district was far more bustling than many marketplaces. Here Lu Chongxing also spotted several familiar signs. It seemed that these family powers had extended their shops and businesses into Zhou Immortal City. After a brief look around, he headed towards the Inner City District. To make purchases, one must go to the Inner City District. Meanwhile, at the same time, just as Lu Chongxing arrived in Zhou Immortal City at the base of Zhou Mountain within a cave abode, a girl dressed in snow-white robes with delicate features and an ethereal aura opened her eyes. What's happening? Why do I feel an inexplicable impulsion, an unaccountable palpitation? The girl frowned her beautiful brows and muttered to herself. When cultivators experience a sudden impulse or palpitation, it often signifies that something is about to happen. Xiaochan. Just then a beautiful woman walked into the room. The woman was dressed in a well-tailored, tight-fitting black gauze long dress. The dress hugged her curvaceous and enchanting figure, with her shoulders exposed, smooth and fair. It made men naturally want to embrace her shoulders in their arms. Her slender waist accentuated prominent curves that led to a full and ample bosom. Long, straight and fair legs peeked out slightly under the hem, standing in a pair of slender heel-stiletto black shoes with a faintly pink sole. Chapter 453. Arriving at Zhou Immortal City, meeting Meng Xiaochan again, she exuded seduction with every fiber of her being, with every gesture and step. Master. Meng Xiaochan looked at the beautiful woman before her and immediately called out. You little girl, I told you to call me mother now. Nangong Mili looked at the girl before her, her lips curving into a charming smile, and pinched her fair and tender face. As if that wasn't enough, her soft, rosy lips kissed Meng Xiaoquan's fair and delicate cheek. Mother. Meng Xiaochan smiled sweetly and called out affectionately. On this trip outside with her master, the two had disguised themselves as mother and daughter. Good girl, come here, open your mouth. The beautiful woman sat down beside the bed, her ample buttocks pressed into a bountiful pastry. She pinched a red spirit fruit between her fingers and fed it to Meng Xiaochan. With a gentle smile, she radiated an alluring charm, yet amidst this enticing aura, she did not lose her mature and elegant demeanor. Meng Xiaochan couldn't help but sigh to herself, her own master was truly a seductress. The allure was irresistible to both men and women alike, difficult for anyone to withstand. She obediently opened her mouth and ate the red spirit fruit. Seeing her disciple's adorable appearance, Nangong Mili let out a soft, coquettish laugh. She picked up another red spirit fruit and placed it into Meng Xiaoquan's mouth. Come on, good girl, have one more. As she spoke, her fair fingers touched the disciple's red lips, and only after the small mouth and teeth bit down on the spirit fruit in her hand and the little tongue rolled it into her mouth did she gently withdraw her moist finger. Mother, did you need me for something? Seeing Nangong Mili holding another spirit fruit, ready to feed her, Meng Xiaochan immediately asked. Can't a mother find her good daughter to chat without reason? The beautiful woman put on a tearful and aggrieved expression, appearing just like a coquettish young girl, pitiful to the point where even steel could turn tender. Master. Meng Xiaochan called out, exasperated. At first, when she met her master, the nascent soul immortal maintained a sense of authority in front of her. But as they spent more time together, she discovered her master's playful and capricious nature, finding amusement in teasing her along the way. All right, down to business. As the sect hierarch and the Heavenly Corpse sect master's big battle with Li Duanshuan is about to begin, our side should also make some moves. Nangong Mili's gorgeous face showed a dignified expression. Which family are we contacting this time? Meng Xiaochan asked. She had come to Jiang country with her master Nangong Mili, to contact the sleeper agents embedded there by their sect. If the Five Poisons cult leader and Heavenly Corpse sect master could repel Jiang country cultivation realms number 1, Shenzhen true monarch Li Duanshuan, then Jin Kingdom would initiate the great battle and invade Jiang country. At that time, those like them who had already infiltrated the Jiang country cultivation realm would gather their sleeper agents and cooperate with the Jin Kingdom's forces both from within and without. We've almost contacted everyone we need to. Since we're taking action, naturally we have to target Zhou Immortal City, create chaos in Jiang country and strike at the morale of Jiang country, Nangong Mili said softly, pinching her face. You mean to act directly against Zhou Immortal City? Upon hearing this, Meng Xiaoquan's eyes widened, her mouth slightly agape. Although Nangong Mili before her was a nascent soul immortal, Jin Kingdom's 3 great demonic sects had also dispatched other nascent soul and false core immortals to Jiang country. But the thought of striking such an immortal city was utterly delusional. After all, Zhou Immortal City also had nascent soul immortals in residence. Moreover, Zhou Immortal City was protected by a third-rank great formation. If a nascent soul immortal skilled in formation were to command it, within the city they would be unrivaled. Unless a nascent soul true lord descended personally. Of course it's not what you're thinking. You'll know when the time comes. Nangong Mili saw her disciple's expression and guessed her thoughts. pinching her face with a slightly amused air. She then affectionately took Meng Xiaoquan's arm and walked out of the cave dwelling. "Weiner, you're here." The moment the two stepped out of the cave, a tall and authoritative man with a hint of ferocity in his eyes brightened up and approached them. He looked at Nangong Mili, his imposing demeanor melting away as the ferociousness in his eyes disappeared, leaving only infatuation. "Did you buy the things I asked for?" Nangong Mili looked at the middle-aged man before her with a cold expression, void of charm, and asked in a cool voice. I have bought everything." The middle-aged man pulled out a storage bag and stepped forward eagerly, his face filled with an appeasing look. Not bad." Nangong Mili took the storage bag, glanced at it and nodded indifferently. Then, continuing to hold Meng Xiaoquan's wrist, she proceeded toward the inner city. "Mother, isn't true Lord Xiang coming with us?" Meng Xiaoquan asked her master. But as soon as she spoke, she saw the middle-aged man looking at Nangong Mili with deep infatuation, keeping his distance from them while following closely. Recalling how Nangong Mili had told true Lord Xiang to maintain a certain distance from them, Meng Xiaoquan hardly knew what to say. A nascent soul immortal, so humble in the presence of her master. The two made their way from Zhou Mountain to the inner city district. Walking down the bustling streets, Meng Xiaoquan felt a premonition and looked ahead to a tall, robust middle-aged man with a heroic countenance. For some reason, upon seeing this middle-aged man, her heart fluttered with an inexplicable familiarity. At this moment Lu Chongqing also seemed to sense something. He turned his head to look in the right front direction. He immediately saw a black-clad beauty and a white-dressed girl walking hand in hand. The beauty was stunning, her body sinuous in a black gauzy dress. Indeed, her entire being exuded an irresistible alluring charm. Even Lu Chongqing, battle-hardened as he was, found the beauty to be exceedingly lovely and enchanting. Chapter 454. Arriving at Zhou Immortal City, meeting Meng Xiaoquan again under for naturally stunning, a peerless charm. However, his gaze first fell upon the white-dressed girl next to the woman in black. The pure and innocent face of this white-dressed girl, along with her ethereal aura, formed a sharp contrast with the voluptuous woman. Her slightly petite figure was also developing nicely, curvy in all the right places. But walking hand in hand with the woman in black, she seemed somewhat slight, not quite as eye-catching. When Lu Chongqing looked towards this girl, for some reason he felt an inexplicable and familiar sense of wonder. "My dear daughter, what's wrong?" Nangong Mili observed Meng Xiaoquan suddenly pause in her steps and gaze toward somewhere not too distant, then followed her line of sight with a glance before leaning down slightly and asking softly. "It's nothing." Meng Xiaoquan immediately snapped back to reality and shook her head. But in her heart she couldn't help but ponder who was that person. She had great faith in her own intuition. If she felt familiarity, then she must have met this person before. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember having met such an individual before. However, Nangong Mili brought her to a courtyard where many were discussing matters, interrupting her train of thought and preventing her from dwelling on it further. Lu Chongqing watched as the woman in black and the girl in white left and was somewhat puzzled. Because having broken through to the Foundation establishment realm, he shouldn't have inexplicable feelings or whims. Could it be the influence of a peach blossom goo? Lu Chongqing's brows furrowed slightly as he queried the peach blossom goo. He wanted to know if the strange and familiar feeling had any connection to the peach blossom goo. After all, aside from the bewildering and mysterious influences of a peach blossom goo, he could think of no other reason. Affection. The peach blossom goo conveyed a thought. It informed Lu Chongqing that this peculiar feeling did not originate from itself, but from another goo. The backlash of the goo in the past. Could it be her? Lu Chongqing, upon receiving the thoughts from the peach blossom goo between his brows, felt somewhat surprised. He immediately realized that the white-dressed girl was Meng Xiaoquan, who had once cast a love goo on him that backfired. Who would have thought that after more than 10 years I would encounter her here? Lu Chongqing's brows lifted and he let out a light chuckle. No wonder he had felt that inexplicable sense of familiarity just now. As for meeting Meng Xiaoquan, he wasn't particularly moved. The battle between the Lu family and the Qin family back then happened to owe much to Meng Xiaoquan. Moreover, after the event, Meng Xiaoquan had given him 2 Foundation Establishment elixirs and 1 Foundation Establishment spirit object. Thus, in his mind, any debt of gratitude or grievance with Meng Xiaoquan was settled. so he harbored no resentment toward Meng Xiaochan. And he didn't dwell on her too much. At most he wanted to ask Meng Xiaochan about the effects of the goo that he had seized from her. She seemed to glance this way just now, probably due to the love goo, right? But now that I have the misty sky bead masking my aura, I wonder if she can recognize me. Lu Chongqing mused to himself. Meng Xiaochan had disguised herself. If not for the peculiar familiar feeling just now and the hint from the peach blossom goo, he would never guess who she was. Thus he was curious whether Meng Xiaochan could recognize him upon seeing him. If she did recognize me, would that be considered peach blossom luck? Lu Chongqing stroked his chin, recalling when Meng Xiaochan had departed. She had said she had urgent matters to attend to and couldn't stay by his side, but once those were resolved she would spend the rest of her life with him. She must have been young then. To have reached the foundation establishment at such an age suggests that her spiritual root talent is above average. If we were to have children, their spiritual root talent would likely be quite exceptional. Lu Chongqing thought to himself. Although in the cultivation world age is not easily discerned by examining bones, and it's difficult to tell one's true age, not everyone in the cultivation world's lower echelon can afford to take elixirs of youth or practice preserving appearance techniques. Therefore, by one's outward appearance, a general estimate of their age can still be made. He remembered when he first encountered Meng Xiaochan, she was at the late stage of energy refinement, disguised as a young man, and later on always appeared as a young girl. It suggested that she wasn't too old. Later, her ability to achieve foundation establishment on her own indicated a rather impressive spiritual root talent. There's no use counting my chickens before they hatch. And the beautiful woman by her side didn't look simple. Could she possibly be her mother? Lu Chongqing shook his head, deciding not to dwell on it any further. When he had encountered Meng Xiaochan in the past, she was always quite resourceful. The first time she managed to survive under his talisman treasure, the golden light brick. The second time, if not for the peach blossom goo on his side, he might have fallen into her hands. The third time she had even become a foundation establishment cultivator. Furthermore, she was able to offer him 2 foundation establishment elixirs and a foundation establishment spirit object. Such generosity was not something many foundation establishment families could afford. It revealed to him that Meng Xiaochan was no ordinary individual. Though he's now at foundation establishment with methods comparable to those with false cores, his main purpose this time was to purchase goods. There was no need to complicate matters by contemplating taking Meng Xiaochan back for the purpose of bearing children. Moreover, as long as the love goo provided a connection, he and she were bound to unite sooner or later. There was no need to rush. Without delay, Lu Chongqing arrived at an inn, booked a room, altered his appearance with the misty sky bead within the room, changed into a blue magical robe, and headed to the largest merchant house in Zhou Immortal City, the Zhou Merchant House. This trip was all about making major purchases. Even with the misty sky bead in use as a disguise, it still paid to be cautious. Besides, his identity as Han Li was known to some from the Qinyun sect and other passengers aboard the spiritual vessel. Welcome to Zhou Merchant House. May I know if the guest is looking to buy or sell? Upon arriving at Zhou Merchant House, a beautiful female cultivator dressed in a uniformed skirt came forward to greet him. Do you have third-rank talisman-making materials? Lu Chongqing asked. Third-rank talisman-making materials? The hosting female cultivator showed a hint of surprise upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words. Chapter 455. Arriving at Zhou Immortal City, meeting Meng Xiaochan again under the guest jests. Third-rank materials are strategic resources, extremely scarce and seldom sold to the outside, such as third-rank talisman-making materials. Our Commerce Guild currently does not sell them to outsiders. If you, guest, are a second-tier top-level talisman master, and if you are willing to become a guest elder offering services for our Commerce Guild, we would have third-rank talisman-making materials available for you. The receptionist cultivator smiled kindly as she spoke. Not for sale to outsiders. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's heart sank slightly, a sense of disappointment washing over him. Before, he had guessed that Zhou Immortal City wouldn't have too many third-rank materials on offer. But he had absolutely not expected that the Zhou Commerce Guild wouldn't sell third-rank talisman-making materials to outsiders at all. However, Lu Chongqing also understood when he thought about it. Materials of this level are precious and rare. Most are used to cultivate their own talisman masters. How could they possibly sell them to outsiders? Moreover, the great immortal sects also monopolize resources in this manner, forcing artisans of a certain level to choose to join a power. Otherwise, limited by material channels, their skills would scarcely advance. Ordinary loose cultivators, of course, would be happy to join a major power and enjoy the benefits. But his current situation didn't allow the convenience of joining the Zhou Commerce Guild. It seems I can only go through Qingyun sect for this. But even entering Qingyun sect, obtaining third-rank materials will not be simple. Lu Chongxing inwardly sighed. I wonder if your guild may have these materials. He took out the list of materials required for crafting the 99 Mysterious True Strategy and asked. The second-tier auxiliary materials for the 99 Mysterious True Strategy artifact had already been completely purchased through Nine Dragons Market and Qingyun Commerce Guild. He still lacked 4 main third-rank materials. Please wait, guest. The receptionist said immediately upon hearing this. She took out a jade scroll and began to check the various materials listed for Lu Chongxing. Guest, our guild currently has a piece of dark essence steel and blue lapis goldwood. After a while, the female cultivator took out the jade scroll and spoke to Lu Chongxing. Dark essence steel, blue lapis goldwood. Lu Chongxing's face immediately revealed a joyous expression upon hearing this. He thought it's indeed worthy of a big commerce guild from the Immortal City to have 2 pieces of third-rank materials available at once. And this dark essence steel was even one of the most precious materials for crafting the 99 Mysterious True Strategy. He had thought that acquiring dark essence steel would be the most troublesome. May I ask the price of these 2 materials? Lu Chongxing inquired. Dark essence steel 21,000 spirit stones, blue lapis goldwood 13,000 spirit stones. The receptionist announced the prices. Hiss. Even though Lu Chongxing was quite wealthy, he still couldn't help but gasp at these prices. Because they were indeed expensive. At this rate, just purchasing the artifact 99 Mysterious True Strategy alone would cost him 60 to 70,000 spirit stones. This price had already surpassed that of a spiritual artifact. Agreed, bring me these 2 materials. Lu Chongxing said aloud. Expensive or not, there was no choice. After all, he had come all the way here. Moreover, with the 99 Mysterious True Strategy artifact in hand, the power and techniques he could wield from the 99 mystical talisman scripture through the talisman refinement formation would greatly increase. So in Lu Chongxing's view, the expense was still worthwhile. Immediately after, the receptionist invited him to a room, where an advanced-level receptionist conducted the transaction with him. For materials of third rank, which are expensive and rare, ordinary receptionists did not have the authority to withdraw them from inventory. Does your guild accept spirit talismans? After inspecting the 2 materials and when he was about to pay, Lu Chongxing took out a stack of second-rank talismans and asked. Over the past 3+ months of his visit, he had drawn many second-rank talismans. It was to avoid running short on spirit stones. So now, at the time of payment, he directly took out some talismans to use as a discount off the spirit stones. Second-rank spirit talisman? The advanced receptionist examined the talismans and agreed to purchase them at 60% of the market price. Hearing this, Lu Chongxing used 30 second-rank lower-grade spirit talismans and 10 second-rank middle-grade spirit talismans to discount 10,800 spirit stones. After paying the remaining spirit stones, he left the Zhou Commerce Guild. Then he inquired about other materials, third-rank talisman-making materials, in the shops of Zhou Immortal City one by one. Zhou Commerce Guild not selling third-rank talisman-making materials to the public didn't mean all shops wouldn't sell them. Furthermore, Lu Chongxing also began to inquire about third-rank spiritual wood, third-rank spiritual blood, and so on. If there were no third-rank talisman-making materials for sale, then he would purchase third-rank spiritual wood and spiritual blood to craft his own talisman paper and spirit ink. After shopping around the Immortal City for 2 days, Lu Chongxing had some gains. He managed to purchase some third-rank talisman-making materials and a few rare alchemy spirit medicines. The materials for the 99 Mysterious True Strategy were only 1 item short of completion. An auction event? At this point, Lu Chongxing learned some news. In a month and a half, there would be a semi-annual small auction event in Zhou Immortal City. Upon hearing this news, he became interested and thought he might attend to see. One reason was items he needed might appear at the auction. Another was that after the auction ended, There would be a transaction event, allowing cultivators trade amongst themselves. This kind of direct trading often featured rare items. But before that, I need to earn some spirit stones. Lu Chongqing exhaled lightly. The shopping of the past couple of days had nearly depleted the spirit stones he had with him. So naturally, if he wanted to participate in the auction, he needed to prepare some spirit stones. On this trip, he not only purchased a large quantity of talisman materials but also many alchemy materials. These alchemy materials were sufficient for him to craft harmonizing energy elixir, 3 suns elixir, and a myriad of other second-rank elixir medicines. Thus, Lu Chongqing decided to spend some time trying out the second-rank alchemy skills he had drawn but had never used before, to replenish his storage bag.